Good evening and welcome to a truly historic evening. The Town of Dighton Board of Selectmen regular meeting open session will begin. This is a hybrid meeting via Zoom and in person at Old Town Hall. The Zoom meeting information ID is 832-0032-0825. Passcode 299714. Phone login will be 1309-205-3325. This agenda is subject to revisions, additions prior to the meeting. Public input may be provided using the following methods: contacting the Board of Selectmen office at boardofselectmen@dighton-ma.gov to provide input prior to the meeting, or via Zoom call-in. Continued play on Dighton Channel 9 and on YouTube at www.youtube.com/townofdighton. This meeting is being recorded. The listing of matters are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. At this time, I would ask that we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Since our last meeting, the following members of the Dighton family have passed. Joy Swanson-Druber, 45, passed away on August 20th, 2022, due to injuries sustained in a motor vehicle accident. She was a graduate of Apponequet Regional High School and had a long career as a dispatcher and police officer with the towns of Freetown and Dighton. She also worked at Lockheed Martin and was a school bus driver for Old Colony and Freetown schools. She was also a coach of softball and basketball at Dighton Rehoboth Regional High School. She was the daughter of Keith Swanson-Ruger and Sandra Swanson-Druber. Dorothy T. Torres, 92, passed away on Thursday, July 28, 2022, surrounded by a loving family. She was the devoted wife of the late and former selectman Francis J. Torres for more than 68 years. She was the daughter of the late Joseph and Lena Blue, and sister of Irene, who died at childbirth. Kevin Mark Polson passed away at Lade Clinic in Burlington on July 31st. He was the husband of Kim and was a resident of North Dighton. He attended Bridgewater State College and worked for both the Swansea and Brewster ambulance services. Richard Louise, 65, passed away on July 24th. Richard was born in Weymouth and was the son of the late Gabriel and Emily Louise. He was a carpenter and the brother of the late Susan Davis. And Zachary Farrier passed away on August 16, 2022 at St. Elizabeth's Hospital in Brighton. He was born in Taunton, the son of Tracy Labrie and stepson of Doug Labrie. He worked for Union IBEW Local 223 as an apprentice electrician. He was also, beside his parents, Zachary is survived by his loving son, Noah. At this time, I would ask for a moment of silence, thoughts and condolences to the family of the fallen. Thank you. I believe 44 years ago, Chief Robert McDonald.
Time is 42, then it's 43, then it's 18, then it's 19. So that's cheap, but it's 42, it would be 43 if I started another year, but no. I'm not.
42 years.
42.
Of dedicated service to the residents of Dighton. An outstanding athlete at DR. He went on to distinguish himself for a long and illustrious career with the town of Dighton. 44 years is truly a commitment. And knowing Chief McDonald since our youth, I can tell you it was a labor of love. This evening, we will be recognizing him for his service in a proclamation and certificate of recognition. Whereas Chief Robert McDonald was born and raised in the town of Dighton. After graduation from Dighton Rehoboth Regional High School, he received a degree from Massasoit Community College. He continues to live in Dighton, where he and his beloved wife, Mary, raised their children, Michael and Michelle. And whereas Chief Robert McDonald has dedicated over 43 years of service, a public service to the town of Dighton, and whereas Chief Robert McDonald began his tenure with the town of Dighton in 1979 as a part-time dispatcher, promoted to a part-time reserve officer in 1980, after which he was appointed to full-time status in 1985. He was promoted to sergeant in 1989, became acting chief in 2003, and was finally appointed as chief of police in 2004. And whereas Chief Robert McDonald, through his leadership, consistently prioritized law enforcement, operational advancements to support the department's community policing initiatives in order to meet the needs of the greater community, including the hiring of new officers and various capital investments. And whereas Chief Robert McDonald led efforts together with fellow committee members to build the new police station that broke ground in November of 2017 and opened in February of 2019. And whereas during Chief Robert McDonald's tenure, Dighton joined the Southeastern Massachusetts Law Enforcement Council, started a DARE program, and initiated a Student Resource Officer program at the Dighton Rehoboth Regional High School, and helped to lead the steps to, I hope this evening, an extension of that program. Whereas Chief Robert McDonald has been an active member of his community, involved as a coach for youth sports, as a resource consultant for the Stormwater Committee, and a Lions Club member. He donated time for traffic control during the PMC Jimmy Fund annual bike ride, as well as Memorial Day parades. And now we, the Board of Selectmen of the town of Dighton, do hereby recognize Chief Robert McDonald for his hard work and dedication to our community and its residents. On behalf of our grateful community, we extend our sincere gratitude to Chief McDonald for his tireless efforts to move Dighton forward. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused the great seal of the town of Dighton to be affixed on this 24th of August, 2022. The Board of Selectmen of the town of Dighton. Leonard E. Hull, Chairman, Peter D. Karen Clerk, Kenneth J. Pacheco, Member. Chief? Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Chief McDonald asked me if I would read the following. Dear Board of Selectmen, my official date of retirement is Friday, August 26. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve the Dighton community over the past 42 years. A community that has given so much to me and my family. I joined the Dighton Police Department in 1980 as a dispatcher and reserve officer. I became a full-time patrolman in 1985 and was promoted to sergeant in 1989 and was appointed chief in 2003. During my earlier years with the department, I served with 3 chiefs, Chief Carl K. Spratt Jr., Chief Alfred Pacheco, and Chief Gary Sanson, all of whom were instrumental in helping to prepare me for serving as your chief for these past 19 years. I am proud of what the department has been able to achieve during my tenure as chief, most notably the construction of a new police station, the establishment of a dedicated school resource officer, the creation of a full-time detective position, the reinstatement of the lieutenant position. This evening, we will approve the comfort dog, and the procurement of new modern equipment and vehicles, all of which have positioned the department to better serve the evolving needs of the community. Of course, none of these achievements could have been possible without the dedication and support of the officers, dispatchers, administrative staff that I've had the pleasure of working with over the years. In addition to past and current selectmen, town administrators, town hall staff, the fire department, and the highway department. I grew up in Dighton, attended Dighton Public Schools, and I have called Dighton my home for my entire life. I coached youth sports in Dighton for many years, including baseball, basketball, and football, both for recreation leagues and school teams. I am an active member of the Dighton Lions Club and have regularly participated in many community events sponsored by the club. It is never an easy decision to put away the uniform, but I am reassured that the department will be in more than capable hands with the appointment of Lieutenant Sean Cronin as my replacement. In my retirement, I am looking forward to spending time with my family, traveling, and improving my golf game. Once again, I would like to express my sincerest gratitude for the opportunity to serve the town of Dighton as your chief of police, and would like to thank all my colleagues from the bottom of my heart. Sincerely, Chief Robert L. McDonald.
Just a quick story. This is going back 20 some odd years, but just to kind of clarify the type of person you are. Our sons played baseball together on separate teams, but we played together. And one day, my son was afraid of the baseball. He wasn't exactly a stellar baseball player, and I think the coach, the chief knew that. But we were playing their team one day, and they had an outstanding team. And my son was very intimidated by the baseball team that we were playing. And every time the pitcher threw the ball, my son would jump out of the box. Anyway, the chief, watching the whole thing with a small smile on his face, the last time the pitcher threw the ball, and my son was jumping out of the box. It accidentally hit the bat, and the chief told him to run. And he gave him the biggest pat on the back and said, "That's one hell of a hit." And I never forgot that story, because I always said to myself, that's the kind of coach I want to be. And certainly, sir, you lived that, and you became the same kind of chief as you were a baseball coach. And thank you.
Mr. Pacheco?
Yes, Chief, I apologize for not being there, but given some circumstances, I can't attend. I really wanted to be there for you and for Sean. I want to thank you for your service. You've always been professional. You're a decent human being. You've always been fair. You've answered all my phone calls whenever I had to call you. I wish you the best in your retirement. I know you've been a little hesitant about retiring, but after a while, you're going to really start to enjoy it. So good luck, Chief.
Thank you, Selectman Pacheco. Thank you.
This evening, as I look out into the audience, I see representatives of 3 unions: dispatch, police, and fire. And I think by the very large number of union members that are here this evening, that it's a true testament of their love and respect for you. Chief, thank you for your years of service to this community.
Thank you, Mike. Thank everybody.
Thank you, Chief.
The next item on the agenda is that we have to appoint someone to fill some very big shoes. And as a result of the interviewing process, with a private firm that we asked to do initial interviews, followed by interviews with Town Administrator Mullen and the Board of Selectmen, this evening, we will swear in the new Chief of the Dighton Police Department, Sean P. Cronin. At this time, I would like to call up Town Clerk Mark Pacheco for the swearing in of Chief Sean P. Cronin.
Congratulations, John. You want to raise your right hand and please say, "I do" or "I will" after these statements. Do you, Sean P. Cronin, solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon you as the police chief for the town of Dighton, Massachusetts?
I will.
Will you bear true faith and allegiance to, and will you uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, so help me God?
I will.
Will you obey and be bound by such rules and regulations as are now or may be established by the town of Dighton and its police department?
I will.
Do you, Sean P. Cronin, solemnly swear that you will never betray your badge, your integrity, your character, or the public trust?
I do.
Will you always have the courage to hold yourself and others accountable for our actions?
I will.
Okay, and here is where you repeat after me. I, Sean P. Cronin,
I, Sean P. Cronin,
hereby accept the position of
hereby accept the position of
Chief of Police for the town of Dighton.
Chief of Police for the town of Dighton.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Pacheco, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Pacheco, would you like to?
Yeah. Sure. So I've had quite a bit of time to think about what I was going to say tonight. But, hearing everything about the chief kind of brings me back to a lot of memories about Little League and a lot of other things. So I
I just want to thank him. It's 18 and something years, almost 19.
18 and a half.
You know, it's been, we've been through quite a bit together, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate your endorsement for this, and I'm just proud and humbled that my parents are here. I'm glad that they can share this with me. My family, I'm just really kind of taken back by some of the faces that I'm seeing here, so I really appreciate everything. I'm honored, and wish me luck.
I wish you a lot of luck. You can do it, believe me.
I wish his wife luck.
Mr. Karen, do you have?
Yes, absolutely. Sir, I've only known you a short time. I've been a selectman for 5 months, and I've always been impressed by it every time we're together and things that you've had to say and things that you've done. And I have no concerns that that you becoming chief will not fill Bob's shoes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Where's the badge?
So,
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
needs a badge.
You need a badge,
Yeah, pin it.
At this time, Mr. Pacheco, do you have anything like to?
Sure. I've known Sean for a few years now, since when I worked in the court, he worked in the jury session. He represented the town of Dighton. He was a proud representative for our town. He made us look very well. He has big shoes to fill with Chief Mack retiring, but I'm convinced that he can do it. I see that his parents are there. Congratulations. You raised a great son, a decent person, and I wish him the best. Be safe, Chief.
Thank you.
Very shortly, we are going to have a discussion in regards to SRO for Dighton Elementary and Dighton Middle. And also the addition to the police family of a very popular dog called Okie, which I believe is somewhere here this evening. Lieutenant Cronin played a major role in helping us to come to this agreement, and we will elaborate on that shortly. He has already got off to a very strong footing with many of the community leaders, and I am sure this is just the beginning of a wonderful tenure of office. I'd also like to thank Clerk Mark Pacheco for his work in drawing up the swearing in oath of office, thank you, as well as framing that oath, beautiful wooden form, and in being here this evening to do the swearing in. Thank you. Hope to make it special. I appreciate it. With that being said, next on the agenda is review, discuss, and act on the memorandum of understanding regarding the canine officer between the town of Dighton and the Dighton Police Officers Local 306. Mr. Mullen?
Yes, and just like before we get to that, if it's okay, because we do have a new police chief, and we need to enshrine, I can memorialize some terms of, employment, for Sean, like if we could begin, Mr. Chairman, with the proposed employment contract for Chief Cronin, and then we can go to the Comfort Dog MOU, if that's okay. You have, the board has before it, a proposed employment agreement, between the town and Chief Cronin. It is almost a 3-year contract that, is very fair, and I want to thank the chief, for his, for really understanding where the town is financially, and our ability to come to an employment contract very quickly based on that. But it's a 3-year contract. It does provide the chief of police with the ability to work police details not during regular work hours, and he would have the right under this proposed contract of employment to have the right of refusal before any reserve officer, but after any current member of the Dighton Police Officers Union under this employment, under this contract of employment. Really everything else in here, everything else included in the proposed contract really reflects what the chief's current, a former contract as a lieutenant was, with the exception of pay. And I want to thank the chief for working with us on this. And and just as an aside, excuse me. Yeah, just as an aside, having the honor to work with Chief McDonald, for over the last year and a half, and now with the chief, it's really been the highlight of my work in Dighton, I have to say. And I want to thank the chief, a sense of humor, the camaraderie that, he brings, and we've been able to have, to really do a lot of good things has meant a lot. So thank you, Chief, and welcome, Chief Cronin. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, Mr. Chairman. I'm very happy we've, as I mentioned, we're able to come to the agreement fairly quickly. So,
Mr. Pacheco, do you have any questions for Mr. Mullen?
No, I don't. I had an opportunity to review the contract, and I think it's a fair contract.
Mr. Karen?
Same thing. I was, again, in it from the beginning, and I think it's an ideal contract.
Yes, and I do want to thank Mr. Karen for helping to negotiate that contract. Earlier this evening, in executive session, we reviewed the contract, so I also do not have any questions at this time. I will entertain a motion to approve the contract for Sean P. Cronin, Chief of Police.
I make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and second. All those in favor? Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Chief, congratulations. Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
You switch hats now, or?
Bad yet, because
Oh, yeah.
come in here for him.
You act to discuss on the memorandum of understanding, canine officer between the town of Dighton and the Dighton Police Officers Local 306. Mr. Mullen?
yes. So since the Dighton Police Department and Officer Hathaway, SRO Hathaway, since they took possession and we took possession, of Oki on July 24th, 2022. We have had to meet the requirements of the FLSA, the Fair Labor Standards Act. As a result, in the proposed MOU before the board tonight really reflects the requirements of the Fair Labor Standards Act, with having a canine officer who has in his possession, and has as a responsibility of his role, the responsibility of housing and raising and working with the canine. So we do have a proposed MOU that's been already ratified by the Dighton Police Union before you tonight, that enshrines the requirements of the Fair Labor Standards Act into the terms of employment for the canine officer, Mr. Chairman. And I'm happy to answer any questions on that.
Mr. Pacheco, do you have any questions?
No, I have no questions. I had the opportunity to review that, and we discussed it in executive stuff. I have no problems with it.
Mr. Karen?
Ditto.
I too have reviewed the contract. I was also involved with discussions with the Dighton Rehoboth Regional School Committee last night, who approved an agreement with the town in regards to Oki and with the canine officer. We are excited about the opportunity of having a comfort dog for the town, in particular for Dighton Elementary and Dighton Middle School. And I'll speak more onto that shortly. Unless there are any further questions, I will entertain a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding regarding the canine officer between the town of Dighton and the Dighton Police Officers Local 306.
I make that motion.
Motion, Mr. Karen. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Motion has been made and second. All those in favor? Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Mr. Hathaway, before I move on, do you have anything that you would like to add to this discussion, or?
No, I appreciate the town's support, and I look forward to the exciting future we're gonna have with the youth of this town.
How old is Oki?
He's 13 weeks.
13 weeks. And the training will continue?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. He's already become a big favorite with the town. Next on the agenda, review, discuss, and act memorandum of understanding between the town of Dighton and the Dighton Rehoboth Regional High School regarding the student resource officers at the Dighton Rehoboth Regional High School and the Dighton Elementary and Middle Schools. Mr. Mullen.
Yes, so I'm very, very, very pleased and excited to report, as you did, Mr. Chairman, and actually the approval of two MOUs. First, by the DR School Committee last evening. One is an updated MOU for the SRO position at the Dighton Rehoboth Regional High School. And the second MOU actually is an agreement to create an SRO position that would serve the Dighton Elementary and Middle School, which is very, very exciting. And that the board, the town, together with the school district, has been working on for the better part of the last 2 months. And I just really want to call out some of the provisions in the proposed agreement, which again was very gratefully approved by the DR School Committee last night. For the high school agreement, for the proposed high school agreement, on page 9, you will note in terms in terms of the cost reimbursement, by the district to the town, that, I'm sorry, I put up the wrong one first. That, the Dighton Rehoboth Regional School District would agree, and agrees to reimburse the town of Dighton, for 10 months, of salary and benefits, for the SRO position. And I also, I believe on or about page 5 of the agreement, one of the things that was important to the town and the district, like it's actually included in page 5, that there are provisions in both agreements that say should the Dighton Police Department employ a comfort therapy dog program for the benefit of the student body, administration, and staff, the district agrees to the implementation of said program. So this enshrines the ability of Oki to travel the halls of Dighton Elementary, Dighton Middle, in the high school, and to work and be a benefit to the students, to the teachers, and the administration and staff of all those schools, which, under the agreements, not only will we have the SROs there, but we'll have the ability to have and bring Oki there as well. So that is very, very, very exciting. And just for transparency, in the proposed MOU, that would cover the SRO at the elementary and middle school. Again, I'm on page 9 of the agreement. The language in that agreement, again, for the elementary and middle school reads, subject to annual appropriation, the salary and benefits of the SRO shall be paid by the town of Dighton. The cost of the training required by this agreement and any other training or professional development will be paid by the town of Dighton. The police chief or his designee may pull the SRO from his or her school duties and reassign as needed. So the difference, like in the MOU for the elementary and middle school, is to really provide the chief and the town to really better manage the flexibility there. We have the ability as a community, and the department has a department to really better manage the needs of our entire community as well. We believe that that provision to be very important. Obviously, the emphasis will be, for the SRO to serve and respond, to the needs of the elementary school. But that provision does give the department, and frankly, the comfort dog, the ability to meet our needs as well. So those are really the highlights, but I can't stress enough, as you did, Mr. Chair, and all of us have, the opportunity before us. And the new superintendent and his entire administration, has been a real partner with us in bringing this to fruition. And I do want to thank and recognize Superintendent Rooney for that as well. So.
Mr. Pacheco.
Yes, I'm in full agreement with this. I'm very pleased that we're going to have now a SRO at the elementary and middle school. So I think it's a great opportunity for the town. And I thank everybody who participated in getting this organized.
Mr. Cannon.
No comments at this time, thank you.
Thank you. There are many people to be thanked for helping to put this together. And it's very important as we go forward that the voters and taxpayers of the town of Dighton understand that this agreement is being done at this time with no impact to the tax rate. There will be no request at special town meeting to fund this position. Thanks to the efforts of Town Administrator Mullen, former accountant Janelle Vining, and Lieutenant Sean Cronin, and retired Chief Bob McDonald, the town was able to find money within our budget to make this happen without an impact to the taxpayers. Thank you. There's an individual who is a member of the community, who really broached the idea of a resource officer at the elementary and middle school, but with the wrinkle of a comfort dog. And I want to thank Kelly Smathers. I attended a social that she had, neighborhood social, where many of the parents that were present expressed their concerns after what happened in Uvalde, Texas, about whether children in any school in America were going to be safe. And the parents that were present at this meeting asked if we could have a resource officer for the elementary and middle school. But they did have a concern. They wanted the police officer not to come in and create, or help to create, an environment that was almost like a prison. They wanted the children to see the officer as a friend and someone that would support them and protect them. And the idea of a comfort dog came up. I met with the leadership of the PTO, and they truly loved it. The next part was going to Town Administrator Mullen to see how we were going to pay for it. And Mr. Mullen, Ms. Vining, Chief Cronin, thank you. Last evening, Town of Dighton and the Town of Rehoboth came together in a very special moment. There's a gentleman in the back of the room who you're going to hear about very shortly, the new superintendent of the Dighton Rehoboth Regional High School, William Rooney. And I want to thank Bill, because he too helped to make this happen. I noticed that one of the members of the Dighton School Committee is present here this evening. And I want to thank all of the Dighton members, as well as the members of Rehoboth, for supporting this endeavor. It is very important for the residents of Dighton to have the SRO and Oki. But what happened last night was how the members of the Dighton and Rehoboth School Committee worked together in a very positive and professional way to make this happen. Lynn Jefferson, thank you. And please extend our thanks to all of the members of both towns that serve on the school committee. I served on a school committee. I know the long and hard hours that you put in. And unlike the Board of Selectmen, none of you get paid a cent. You are definitely appreciated by all of us here in this community. And I want to extend a thank you to you. With that being said, I would entertain a motion to approve the Memorandum of Understanding between the Town of Dighton and the Dighton Rehoboth Regional School District regarding the student resource officers at both the Dighton Rehoboth Regional High School and the Dighton Elementary and Middle Schools.
Make that motion.
Mr.
I'll second the
Karen,
motion.
Mr. Pacheco seconds the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Karen is an aye. Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. The motion passes. I suppose we could say, Oki, welcome aboard. At this time, there are several officers that we'll be recognizing for their work with the Dighton Police Youth Academy. Patrolman Community Outreach Officer Steve Ferrera, Patrolman Nicholas Barrows, Student Resource Officer Stephen Hathaway, Detective Ryan Richards, Patrolman James Duddy, and Sergeant Jay McGovern. Before we call those individuals up,
The chief, I was wondering if you'd be able to give an overview of the program as well, so the community knows and understand what the program was about, and what these officers did, Mr. Chair.
yes. Chief Cronin.
So back in the fall, we got together and talked about doing some sort of a program for younger kids in our community, try to introduce them to what we do on a daily basis, some of the things that we're exposed to, and obviously kick it down and make it relevant for them. So off the rip, it was a challenge, but we formed a committee to talk about how we were going to do it. And we were fortunate enough to have, actually, pretty much everybody had a part in it. But the guys that really kind of brought it home were the ones that you mentioned, sir. But overall, I think it was a great success. I think they have to realize that they've set the bar pretty high, and next year is going to have to be better. So, challenge is on, but you guys did a hell of a job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Over the last several months, both myself and Selectman Karen have had the opportunity to negotiate with the Patrolmen's Union. And I believe I can speak on behalf of Mr. Karen that interaction has been very positive, and I can tell you, very helpful to the town of Dighton. The officers and leadership staff of the Dighton Police Department should be commended.
Absolutely.
At this time, we will be recognizing some of those officers. Certificate of recognition. We, the undersigned, do hereby recognize Sergeant Jay McGovern, to whom we extend our sincere appreciation for dedicating your time, effort, and expertise as a 2022 Dighton Police Youth Academy instructor. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused the great seal of the town of Dighton to be affixed on this 24th day of August 2022. The Board of Selectmen of the town of Dighton, Leonard E. Hull, Chairman, Peter D. Karen, Clerk, and Ken Pacheco, Member. Is Mr. McGovern present? Detective Ryan Richards. Patrolman Nicholas Barrows. Student Resource Officer Stephen Hathaway. Patrolman and Community Outreach Officer Stephen Ferrero. And Patrolman James Duddy.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, I would like to present Dighton Rehoboth Regional School District Superintendent, Bill Rooney. Mr. Rooney?
Good evening.
I have had the pleasure of working with Bill Rooney from the early days of the selection committee and the hiring process for the superintendent of schools. And one of the things that I have learned about this man is that he is a team builder. Building relationships is a big part of who Bill Rooney is. I saw it last evening, big time. We're all well aware of a vote that was taken in Rehoboth a couple weeks ago with the threat of the division between Dighton and Rehoboth and the regional agreement. And through the efforts of Bill Rooney and many others who felt that that relationship should continue, the voters of Rehoboth supported the unification. And now we will go forward with a primary focus, and that's what he's here this evening to talk about, the educating of children in both communities, specifically this evening, the children of Dighton. With that said, Mr. Rooney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to, first of all, take the opportunity to introduce our three principals that represent the three schools that serve the students and the families of Dighton. First of all, Mrs. Lynn Desert, the principal at Dighton Elementary, Mrs. Amy Younger, the principal at Dighton Middle School, and Mrs. Gail DeCecco, the principal at Dighton Rehoboth Regional High School. I think it is extremely fitting that tonight, when we have the opportunity to talk about a new era in our schools, it is at the same time that two very proud graduates of Dighton Rehoboth Regional High School are being memorialized for their service and commitment to this district, to this town, and to its residents. It is, my heart is full with the amount of pride that I have just to be a small part of the educational process for the Dighton Rehoboth Regional School District. I realize that that we have very good schools, but I know that there are things that we have to do better. Our communication needs to be better, our safety and security needs to be better, and we are committed to making that happen. I am so grateful to the support of our school committee, as well as the support of the Board of Selectmen and the town administrators on both sides of both Dighton and Rehoboth for their support thus far. Chairman Hull mentioned that we did have a little bit of a scare at the start of my tenure with the vote for the possible withdrawal of the K-8 schools on the Rehoboth side of the district, but I was very proud to see the number of folks that rallied together to be able to realize that us staying together is the best for the students and for the staff. I would also like to be able to say that the safety and well-being of our students and staff is of paramount importance to me, especially on the heels of the pandemic, and the commitment that you have made not only to staff the SRO position at the high school, but now also provide to the district free of charge an SRO and a comfort dog at the Dighton campus is something that is just very heartwarming to me. These three ladies are poised to take their schools to an even higher level. Mrs. Desert is the veteran principal of the three, but Mrs. Younger and Mrs. DeCecco have served at their schools. They have done an excellent job as assistant principals, and now they are ready to take the reins of their respective schools. As I said, in the first time that I was able to present to the Board of Selectmen, when I came in January for my opportunities to be on site visits to the 5 schools in the district, the warmth that I felt from the staff, the warmth that I felt from the students is something that was palpable. That is something that creates an environment and creates a culture where staff are supporting the students, we are going to support the staff, and in that case, learning takes place. As a 10-year principal of a comprehensive vocational high school at Attleboro, I am committed to making sure that our CTE programs at Dighton Rehoboth Regional High School receive a shot in the arm, so to speak, in terms of a revitalized commitment, and we are going to celebrate those programs the same way that we celebrate all of our college prep and advanced placement programs. So I'm very, very proud to be able to be here tonight, and I'm extremely proud of these 3 members of our district leadership team, and we are just very grateful for your support.
Thank you. Mr. Pacheco, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I just want to congratulate the new principals that have been appointed, and I want to thank Mr. Mooney for the great job he's been doing so far. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Karen?
Just what Ken said, I haven't met you, but tonight would be the first night. Oh, actually, I saw you on stage when you did the event for safety.
Right.
But good luck, guys. You got a big time ahead of you, and I'm sure you all do well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies, congratulations and best of luck. On Friday evening, Mr. Rooney will be having a social for the members of the Board of Selectmen of both towns and for the members of the school committee of both towns. And in light of what happened last evening, it's really going to be a celebration. And hopefully, the beginning of close ties between the selectmen of both communities. Rehoboth and Dighton school committee members last evening showed that some of the animosity that we have seen in the past is being put on the background. Why? Because the most important job they do is serving the children of the community. And the focus now is going to be back on the children, where it belongs. With that being said, I would be remiss if I didn't ask for a motion to direct Town Administrator Mullen to write a letter to the chairman of the board, of the school committee, Dighton Rehoboth Regional School Committee, to thank both Dighton and Rehoboth boards for their support for the SRO position at the elementary and middle school, and also for allowing the comfort dog to be at the Dighton and elementary, Dighton Middle and Dighton Elementary schools.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and was seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Karen is an aye. Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Thank you. Mr. Rooney, Ladies, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Best wishes for you.
Maybe we could take like a 5-minute break, so like the folks not here for the remainder of the agenda might be able to leave.
Sure.
Sure.
Sounds like a good idea.
At this time, I will entertain a motion to recess for 5 minutes.
Take that motion?
I'll second that. I'll
Motion
second that
made and second. All those in favor, Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Thank you.
Break.
To our regular scheduled meeting.
Motion.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and second. Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Next on the agenda is an overview of the Board of Health agent role and responsibilities. Before we open that discussion, I have asked Mr. Mullen to limit the discussion this evening on an overview of the Board of Health and their restructuring plans. And the reason for doing that is the sudden illness and hospitalization of Board of Health Chairman Barbara Catavia, who is at Charlton Memorial Hospital at this time, who will be in our thoughts and prayers for a speedy recovery. With that being said, Mr. Mullen, would you explain your discussions with the Board of Health regarding restructuring?
Yes, so as the board and members of the public know, we've been working with the Board of Health on to talk about really the roles and responsibilities of the board, like in line with the Town of Dighton bylaws and in line with the statutory responsibilities of Board of Health for the better part of the last 8 to 10 months. We have been through a lot the last 2 to 3 years during the pandemic, but even since the Board of Health and the Selectmen separated about 5 years ago now. So with everything that we've been through, we all agreed that it would be a really healthy process, really, to look at where we are, like where we have come from, and then to identify any efficiencies or to streamline any process or to restructure any processes that would allow us to move forward, like in a more efficient and sustainable, in a more efficient and sustainable path. Also too, we have for the last 5 years or so, we've had our first employed health agent as well, who has really been dedicated to the responsibilities that a typical health agent should be dedicated to. The position, the responsibilities, especially with the responsibilities and the issues brought on by the pandemic, on top of the priority that we place, as a community, on the environmental and land use issues we do, we really wanted to look at the job description for the health agent, and make sure that along with the structure and the roles and responsibilities that we all agree that, in the statutory responsibilities that we recognize the Board of Health to have, that the job description for the health agent really mirrors that. So we have all the same expectations across, with everyone, and everyone has an understanding, in a really good understanding of those expectations, the responsibilities, and the kinds of resources that need to really be provided that go into meeting those roles and responsibilities as well. So we've been, we had the beginning of those meetings during last winter and early spring, and we've begun to revisit those, this work, especially over the last few months, as the membership of the Board of Health has seen a complete turnover. So what you have in your packet is actually the current organizational structure of the Board of Health that begins with the members of the Board of Health essentially acting as the department heads, then going down to the employees, the current employees of the Board of Health that include the health agent, the office manager, the public health nurse, and the animal inspector. And included in their collective roles, is an epidemiology responsibility that was really brought to the forefront during COVID. Also, under the current structure is animal welfare. We have emergency prep. We have food services and inspection. We have the stormwater responsibilities. The Board of Health has septic responsibilities. They have solid waste responsibilities. They have housing responsibilities, and right now they share responsibility for the management and oversight, of the transfer station. So in the discussions so far we have had with the Board of Health, a lot of the discussions have really focused on really understanding where they are now, and what their challenges may be in terms of the resources and needs that really carry forward with them to provide and carry out the functions that I have just mentioned. One of the things, as we talk about how we might actually work with the Board of Health to go forward, is really taking an inventory of where we are now and looking at the things that we might it might be better suited for another town department to handle or to take over or to oversee. So in the proposed updated structure that the Board of Health is in the middle of entertaining right now, would be a proposed structure with the appointed Board of Health members, as the policymakers and having the oversight of the Board of Health and the health in the health department, but with the health agent serving as the department head, and then having as proposed by the Board of Health the current office manager, actually taking additional responsibilities as an administrative agent. I do want to mention that is a bargaining issue between the town and the clerical union, so we can't make any decision on that now. And we have to decide, once we get back to the table with the clerical union, whether that would be a priority for the town. But that, is what is being envisioned. That is what is being currently envisioned by the Board of Health at this moment. And then, under a proposed updated structure, the Board of Health will continue to provide services in the realms of food services inspection, in terms of septic, stormwater, solid waste in the transfer station, and we would, really look at that arrangement in an ongoing way through solid waste as well. They would also have a housing inspection. They would have a housing inspection responsibility as well. And then the functions of the town public health nurse would be broken up and separated as well. Where she will continue to focus on the epidemiology needs, also the opiate challenge facing the town and our residents as well. What would really be restructured from an updated, or could be restructured from an updated organizational, like an updated organizational structure. At this point, we would see the animal welfare in the animal inspection. Like exists under the PD. I can also under the State Department of Agricultural Resources, because really the animal inspector role really is a direct report to the Department of Agricultural Resources, and the Board of Health really doesn't have a whole lot of oversight. The Board of Health doesn't have a whole lot of oversight of those functions in the first place. And then for years, we have had an emergency prep committee as well. But the fire chief serves as the emergency management director. So he really performs a lion's share of the functions, and he brings the applicable people and departments together to perform the functions that have historically been covered, like and been under the jurisdiction of the Board of Health and the Emergency Prep Subcommittee. So we would streamline a lot of those efforts, just really under the jurisdiction of the fire chief, which he included in his job description. As the emergency management director. He already has the responsibility of these things, and he also has the responsibility to bring together on an annual basis a town group, what is actually called an LEPC. Don't ask me the acronym at this point, but it's an annual responsibility that he has to bring town officials together to make sure the town is well planned for any type of emergency or crisis. Included though, the thing that would stay under an updated Board of Health structure would be the emergency dispensing requirements through the Department of Public Health. That the Department of Public Health, through local boards of health, through the statute, our local boards of health have an ongoing responsibility to make sure that local communities are prepared for immediate. They have a responsibility, local boards of health, to ensure that local communities are prepared for emergency dispensing, if any public health need arises. So then, with the proposed and the thinking of the proposed restructuring now, then those functions would then inform an updated job description for the health agent. So as I mentioned, the Board of Health is working with the health agent based on an updated structure, a proposed job description that would that would really back up these functions, and at this point, we do expect the Board of Health to propose to the, Selectmen a proposed job description that reflects all this by our board's next meeting on September 14th. That's correct. So that is where we are. It's a lot. It has been a lot of work, and it's been a long time coming. But it's been a long time coming, but we have to get there now. We've been at this almost as long as I've been here. Working for the town, and when we owe it to everyone, including the Board of Health, the health agent, and all of us, really to make sure we're operating based on the same expectations. So I'd be happy to answer any questions or concerns, but that's really a general overview at this point.
Mr. Mullen, thank you. And as Mr. Mullen said, we will have members of the Board of Health, including Mr. Pilling, the health agent, present at the next meeting. This was a discussion item. Mr. Pacheco, do you have any questions or comment?
My only comment is that this is very interesting, the proposal from the Board of Health members. I just feel that it's important that we get the Board of Health agents a job description done for us so that it aligns with their proposals. So I look forward to a new job description for the Board of Health agent.
Mr. Karen?
I'm not sure why solid waste, the transfer station, and stormwater and emergency prep is part of the Board of Health. Emergency prep, it sounds like the fire chief and the police chief and the building inspector certainly should be there. I don't know why the Board of Health is there. I don't know why the Board of Health has anything to do with stormwater in solid waste or the transfer station. What makes them not an expert on it, but
Mr. Mullen?
why are they responsible for the transfer station?
So, relating to stormwater, since 2009, we've had a town of Dighton bylaw that has the responsibility of stormwater, actually under the Board of Health. And, we've had that for about 12 years now. I do practically speaking, I do think we need to look not at the bylaw, but how the practice happens, at least in the Board of Health.
Yeah.
I think we do have ways, I do think we have ways really to build on, our work. We do have ways to improve and build on our success relating to stormwater, and to make that responsibility not only more manageable, but also one of the big things with stormwater is the state and federal government continue to pass on a ton of unfunded mandates relating to stormwater down to cities and towns, which leaves small towns in particular really, in terms of the resources it takes to comply and fulfill those mandates, it puts, it puts everyone in a really tough lurch. I think we have to be open-ended in how, we really, try to, work to stay current with the mandates, but also in a way that really reflects our ability to do all the things that the Board of Health and the health agent and to do all the things that the statute requires. And I would argue that right now, we don't, based on all the needs that the health agent is trying to meet, he's not and we're not able to address a lot of the needs out there that we have. The transfer station and solid waste, that is, I do think because we don't I do think because we don't currently have a bylaw in place, we have more flexibility there. And I do know that, that is something that the solid waste, that the solid waste committee is really actively looking at. You know, to assess, you know, our ability, like in the town's ability to do it in a different and/or better way.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mullen. Mr. Karen, a follow-up on what Mr. Mullen said. If you look at the Board of Health current structure,
Yep.
emergency prep and animal welfare are not on the updated structure. And at some point in the future, not this evening, because it's a discussion item, we'll be voting on whether they continue. My understanding is that both emergency prep and animal welfare are not regulated or mandated by either town bylaw or state or federal statute as having to be under the control of the Board of Health. So we do have some flexibility there. In regards to stormwater, you heard what Mr. Mullen had to say about state, federal too?
A federal bylaw. Yeah, federal regulations, the MS4.
Solid waste and transfer station, that discussion is something that has gone on for a number of years. Under whose domain should they be? Whether it be the Board of Health or the Highway Department. What it really comes down to is manpower. Whether it be the Board of Health or the Highway Department, it will tax them tremendously. It's already taxing the Board of Health. That is why solid waste was formed, to try to stay within financial restraints, but to provide the mandates and deal with the mandates that the state has sent down to us.
Right.
And actually, we're getting 7 volunteers because we can't afford to hire someone full-time to address all the mandates and regulate them and carry out those needs. And the Board of Health nor the Highway Department has the manpower to do that. So it's a manpower issue or labor issue. Unless we have any further questions, we will continue this discussion at the September 14th meeting. Next on the agenda, Mrs. Powell, good evening. Good evening. Mrs. Powell will be coming before us to update us on the Council of Aging staff and programming needs and progress.
And I do believe there is a Facebook request.
Yes, there is.
Okay.
But I'm going to let Mrs. Powell
You gonna let
give
me
us a
talk
report
first?
on the wonderful things. Mrs. Powell, I've been hearing some really good things about
Oh, I'm glad.
prime time and Council on Aging and the job you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. So, am I limited tonight? There's nobody here.
No, go ahead.
So, good evening, everyone. I just wanted to let everybody know that the Council on Aging has been recently reorganized in the past few months, and we're working very hard to promote, encourage new and existing programs and services for the elders in Dighton. I want to let you know that all of our newly hired employees that are in place are doing extremely well. We made excellent choices. In August, we brought back in some of the activities that occurred this past month. We brought back, in collaboration with the Dighton Police Department, Mr. Thomas Quinn, District Attorney, and we had a much better attendance at his presentation. We had an ice cream social under the Dighton Lions Pavilion. It was a small turnout, but those that did attend had a wonderful time. Our art class with Jack, which is held on Tuesdays, actually has a waiting list. Today we had live music with Mike Higgins under the pavilion where our primetime attendees attended, and we had quite a few members from the community who attended. We even did some dancing outdoors. We distributed farmers market coupons to elders who qualified. We passed them all out. Our support group continues to be held on the fourth Thursday of the month. We have 1 to 2, sometimes 3 people that attend it. The Council on Aging Supportive Day Program, known as Primetime to Many, had its opening day yesterday. All the staff members, the ones that we had before, are being retrained on their new they have different shifts, different duties, so they're all getting trained this week and probably next week. Let's see where I am. Trista Tate, our new primetime program manager, has called all those that were on our waiting list of about 28 people that we have. We're starting with all of the Dighton residents first. We have 2 caregivers coming in this week for a tour of the facility to see if they would like their family members to attend. I would like to take a minute or 2 to thank all the departments that helped us to get ready for our opening day. The Dighton Highway Department for all the help in getting the new COA office and the primetime grounds ready, for putting together the new COA office by moving furniture from one building to another, and so much more that they did, all while remodeling the town hall. The Board of Health nurse, Nicole Mello, who provided guidance with the COVID guidelines for the reopening of the daycare, and her eagerness to help the elders in Dighton by holding presentations on subjects that affect the elders in our community. Mr. Todd Pilling for his guidance in acquiring the needed permits to be able to open on the opening day. Chief McGuy for providing Mr. Tom Medeiros to teach CPR class to every single employee that is involved with the COA and primetime. Mr. Jim Aguiar, who worked in getting the new COA office communication lines, whether it was electricity or cable wires and telephone wires. And finally, a special thank you to Karen and Leanne in the Board of Selectmen's office, who worked very hard in getting our phones and our phone lines established, which was not easy, working with Comcast. We hit a lot of bugs there. And finally, I would like to thank the town administrator, Mike Mullen, for all of his direction in this whole big project. And we made it. I made
It's been a
it.
labor of love, Bella, but you've done amazing, so thank you.
So I would just like to let the elders know that coming up in September, we'll be holding our regularly scheduled programs. We're gonna have a coffee with a cop and Okie, the comfort dog, which will be held at Lincoln Village. All residents there and community elders are invited, of course. We'll be having a meet and greet breakfast where we're inviting the elders in the community to meet all the new employees at the Council on Aging. And we're also having an Apple Day with the COA, at the COA. We're having the Registry of Motor Vehicles is coming in also this fall, in September, to do a presentation on the new Real ID to get everybody ready, because that's going into effect next year. We also have Mahjong Mondays starting in this fall, and we're going to be, I forgot her name. I think her name is Deb. I apologize. Deborah. She has graciously volunteered to teach pickleball to our elders. And that is all I have right now.
Oh, thank you. I do have a request from
Yes.
the Council on Aging. It is addressed to the Board of Selectmen. The Dighton Council on Aging is formally asking for the opportunity to have its own Facebook page. We would like to have the opportunity to advertise our programs and informational services on a social media platform. Should you have any questions or need any additional information, please feel free to contact me at my number. Respectfully, Annabelle Powell, Executive Director, Dighton Council on Aging. Mr. Mullen,
Yes.
could you elaborate on the town's policy regarding Facebook pages for committees and
Yes.
boards?
So we do have a policy that does provide for departments, boards, and commissions to request to this board the ability and permission to create a social media page, which the Council on Aging through Executive Director Powell is doing. I do wholeheartedly support this request. I do think based on the Council on Aging's new outreach efforts, it's really important to try to meet our residents, especially our seniors, where they are, to try to really try to highlight and publicize and to attain engagement in our new programming. So I do think, and I do believe the Council on Aging having their own Facebook page, where they can really target their posts, any type of any type of program information or other information they have, through their own Facebook, having the ability to really to target our seniors and who really and who their audience is. I do think that them having and utilizing a Facebook account would be really helpful.
Mr. Mullen, thank you. Mr. Karen, do you have any questions?
No, but I think you do an outstanding job.
Oh, thank you very much.
Tirelessly, you work so hard, and thank you. But I see no issues why they shouldn't have a Facebook page.
Mr. Pacheco, do you have any questions or comment?
No, I also would support them in having a Facebook page.
With that being said, I will entertain a motion to approve the request from the Council on Aging to have a social media Facebook page with the town of Dighton.
I make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and seconded by Mr. Pacheco. All those in favor? Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Next on the agenda is public input. Just a minute. Regarding public input, we are asking that comment be limited to 5 minutes. Also, this evening, if there is anything on the agenda, I am going to restrict public input to that time that it comes up on the agenda rather than prior to the discussion of a particular item. Obviously, the chairman will have the prerogative of limiting discussion if it is insulting or disrespectful, or addresses any public official who is not present this evening. With that being said, Mrs. Goulart, could you come forward and state your name and address for the record? Yeah.
Nancy Goulart, 631 Gray Terrace, North Dighton. And this isn't going to take 5 minutes. And you've already talked about these issues. When you mentioned the passing of Dorothy Torres, I just wanted to mention Dorothy Torres was the first teacher aide hired in the Dighton School Department. And this is about 1970 because that's when we opened public kindergarten by law. That's when we acquired the buildings out back that are called Primetime. There were 4 teacher aides hired. The superintendent was Robert T. Roy, and the director of elementary ed was Dorothy L. Beckwith, as in the Dorothy L. Beckwith School. And Joseph C. Harrington was the administrator for secondary ed. We had a junior high then, not a middle school. But in any case, getting back to Mrs. Torres, she was the first one hired. Along with her, for the elementary school, was Alice Souza, our retired director. of, Council on Aging. And for the junior high school, it was Della Hathaway and Virginia Peterson. So with the passing of Mrs. Torres, there is just Mrs. Souza left of that original group. And Mrs. Torres spent her whole career in that position. Mrs. Hathaway and Mrs. Peterson retired. And as we know, Alice went on to be the director of the Council on Aging. And that's where, she retired from that position. So I just wanted the public to know a little bit more about Dorothy Torres. We all knew Frank Torres, also known as Sonny Torres, and his 15 years as a selectman and a member of the Board of Health. And when he was on, the Board of Selectmen was the Board of Health and also the Board of Public Welfare. And eventually the state took over the public welfare part. And so then it remained as the Board of Selectmen, Board of Health. So that takes me into the subject you were just talking about. I think what really needs to be done, and to address your questions, Mr. Karen, the Board of Selectmen and Board of Health, as we know, were the same three people. And we were organized, when we organized each year after the election, the first person elected was chairman of the Board of Selectmen. The next person elected was chairman of the Board of Health. And the third person was the clerk to both boards. When it was decided and voted to separate the boards, the selectmen's duties pretty much didn't change. What we know is the Board of Health became a separate entity, appointed, not elected. They wanted it to be elected, and I was the one who made the amendment to have it an appointed position under the Board of, appointed committee under the Board of Selectmen. So all of the stuff that fell under the Board of Health, when it was the three selectmen Board of Health, all of it went to the Board of Health. That's why they have all those assignments that you're saying, how did that happen? It was at this time, 2007 was when I first came on the board. The town had gotten fined by the EPA for non-compliance with its notice of intent relative to stormwater. We got that worked out, we got the bylaw, we got everything else done. Again, it was a combined board, the same three people. Over the years, the annual report, it's due this year, I think it's September 28th, so we're working on it right now. That responsibility fell to the Stormwater Committee, which is a subcommittee of the Board of Health. And one of the reasons why it was made a subcommittee is for enforcement purposes. We want it clearly understood that it's a subcommittee of the Board of Health, but it's also taking stormwater, I don't want to say away from the Board of Selectmen, but in splitting the Board of Health, the enforcement is still there, and we want that clearly understood. And that responsibility falls to stormwater. So, and again, they're a subcommittee. We found the best way to handle that in this town was to have a committee. And we are recognized by EPA as the contact in town for everything stormwater. So that, but I think if you go back, if you can look, if in your discussions, look back to where were we? Then we separated, but that's how everything got moved, all right? So everything the Board of Health was doing back then shifted when we split the boards and got a new board. So that's basically what happened, so.
One of the things that appears to have happened, and we're seeing it big time with solid waste, and we're going to talk more about it when we have an individual, because his roles with solid waste have increased. He's had to leave a committee, is that the mandates from the state, what they're asking the towns to do, is really taxing our labor and ability to meet it, not only bodies, workers, but also finances, to pay people to do it. I mean, we literally formed the Solid Waste Committee because we couldn't afford to pay a salary that would be necessary for one person to do this job, which would be full-time job.
And in that particular case, you're dealing with the DEP, the state. That's where the mandates come from. Stormwater reports directly to EPA with a copy to DEP. But in the entire country, there are only 2 states where the EPA has the primary responsibility for stormwater. It's New Hampshire and Massachusetts, and there have been repeated attempts to bring stormwater under DEP, and I'm one of the people that have spoken against it, simply because I have worked well with people from, going back to 2007 when we got fined, and we have established relationships. And I have been very happy with the way I've been treated, and the help I got from EPA to get this whole thing set up. I mean, I even called the director. I didn't know she was the director at the time, but even she said, anything you need from me, call me anytime. I mean, can't get much better than that. Those who feel that it should go under the DEP have complained about dealing with the EPA. Well, I guess it depends on how your relationship is. By the same token, if DEP takes it over, the umbrella organization is EPA. The rules don't change. You're still going to comply because it's a federal program. So if you will, the umbrella is the EPA. And I just feel, again, all of my involvement with the EPA relative to stormwater, starting with when we got fined, that happened before I came on board. But anyhow, that's all that. So the other thing I wanted to mention was, this is a historic event today, and I want to thank Mr. Pacheco, because this morning, the Board of Fence Viewers and Field Drivers held their first meeting, well, I think ever, quite frankly. Mr. William Moore was elected chairman, and I was elected clerk, and Mr. Eric Easterday is the member. We have had a request for services from a resident for fence viewing. So we had a meeting today, and one of the property owners involved was present, the other one was not present. We have scheduled a site visit for Monday morning to go look at the area where the stone wall is, that's a boundary marker. And then following that, we'll be having a meeting in this building. Probably, I'm gonna guess, if we're at the site visit around 10:30, so I think we'll be back here maybe, or 10, I think maybe 30 minutes, so we'll be back here. We gotta get the time straight so it can be posted. It's a public meeting. It was recorded, audio and video. It'll be on YouTube. And we asked that they try to get it on as soon as possible so the party that was not present could watch it and hear the discussion. We couldn't take any action because we didn't have the other party here. So, but the site visit will be private because we will be going on private property. But the meeting we have scheduled for Monday, it will be public just like today. But Mr. Pacheco came and organized the committee. And as you know, Mr. Hull, as I said, this is a historic event. And so we have formally organized.
In regards to that, two questions. One, if a decision is made and one of the parties is not happy with that decision, who do they appeal to?
Okay, so if, we will issue a report with recommendations, a decision, whatever, it'll be in writing. It will be discussed at the meeting, the parties will be notified, and the Board of Selectmen and other appropriate town officials will know what the decision was. When it comes to enforcement, if somebody says, or both say, we don't agree with that and we're not gonna do it, but they're still saying, well, the town's gotta do something. No, what the town has got to do is what we are going to do. If in fact there are violations that need to be corrected that are enforceable by the town, they'll be enforced. However, by the same token, if one or both parties say, we're not doing it, but we're not happy, we will notify the Board of Selectmen. But we are not, per se, an enforcement agency.
Who is the enforcement officer in this matter? Is it the building?
We will notify the Board of Selectmen if the dispute is not, what our recommendations are, and if either party or both parties say, we don't agree and we're not gonna do it, we will notify the Board of Selectmen. By the same token, we have options to say, get a surveyor, all right? We've looked at everything, we've got maps, we've got plans, we got drawings, all of this stuff. But if you still feel that the boundary is not whatever, correct, whatever, we're gonna notify the Board of Selectmen. We acted on it, this is the decision. One or both parties are not happy.
Thank you.
You have an option, have it surveyed, all right?
Thank you.
Because I think this is the first time we've been called on, because number one, it's a stone wall and it's visible, and it's been there for hundreds of years. But if we were talking about a property line in a development, we'd be saying, has the property been surveyed? And we would suggest you try that first, because if you can't look at a boundary marker, we're not surveyors. We don't have those qualifications.
Thank you very
Anyhow,
much.
we're off and running.
Thank you. Is there any other public input? With that being said, Mr. Pacheco, announcements?
Yes, per the Dighton Water District, effective July 26, 2022, all outside watering is prohibited at all times. This includes all addresses at all times. Plants may be watered by hand only. Dighton Household Hazardous Waste Collection Day this Saturday, August 27, 2022, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Dighton Transfer Station, 865 Tremont Street. Proof of residency is required. On Sunday, September 18, 2022, the Dighton Historical Society has, and I've mentioned many times that I'm a member and an officer of the society, but am not a paid officer, will host an afternoon tea with Ann Barrett, who will discuss life aboard a whaling ship from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the Friendship Hall on 2056 Elm Street. Tickets are $10 each for ages 8 and up and can be purchased on their Facebook page or at the Rougeau's Farm, Dighton Public Library, Daffodils Gift Shop. The Town of Dighton's Food Bank distribution will be held next on September 17, 2022, located at the Town Hall, 979 Somerset Avenue at the lower level. And let me give you the list of vacancies on the boards and committees in town. Cable Television Committee needs 3 members, Commission on Disability needs 3 members, Conservation Commission needs 1 member, Historical Commission needs 2 members, Open Space Committee needs 2 members, and Solid Waste Committee needs 1 member. That's it.
Thank you very much. I would like to add in regards to the Dighton Food Bank. I was at last Saturday at the Dighton Food Bank, and it became very evident that we are in some very tough economic times by the large number of people who came to the food bank for food. I really came to appreciate the efforts, the volunteer efforts that I might add of the Dighton Lions Club, and for all their work and the donations. On behalf of the citizens of Dighton, I want to say thank you. Thank you very much. Ms. Powell?
Mr. Selectman, I also wanted to say that that is not the only food bank that is held here in Dighton. There is one held by this same group of people at Lincoln Village, for those people that live there.
And it's solely for the people who live in the village, is that correct?
At Lincoln Village, the residents, and then you have the one that's separate for the elders in the community.
No.
So they actually provide 2 food banks.
Thank you.
Okay.
And again, please, Mr. Marvel, Mr. Pacheco, I know you're both members of the Lions Club. Please forward my thanks to the other members of the Lions Club. It's deeply appreciated. At this time, committee spotlight and acknowledgement to the Dighton Cable Committee. Mr. Mullen?
Yes, so like I believe either Laura or Mr. Marvel has asked to present on behalf of the Cable Committee.
Hi, Laura Medeiros, 1645 Maple Street. So the Dighton Cable Committee, you'll hear later in this meeting, we had a resignation from our committee that you'll hear in correspondence. So as of right now, it is just myself and Dave Marvel that are on the Cable Committee. So there are only 2 members where both of us work full-time. Recently, my hours have been restricted to only 5 hours for the Cable Committee, with the biggest issue kind of happening last week when we realized with just the two of us and me being limited to 5 hours was very challenging when we had 2 meetings we record in 1 week. I ended up having to leave early, and thankfully Dave, his CPC meeting was over. As he's on other boards and committees throughout the town, he was able to come in and finish the meeting. So this is more of like a cry for help, in lack of better words. We're just really in need of anybody interested in joining our committee. I know a lot of people have suggested contacting the high school, which we have done. We do every year. And thankfully, they do have a video program where we had received an employee, Nathan, who just recently resigned. He was a senior. He's now moving to Vermont to go to college. So having those students come and work for us is great. It's great experience for them, great on their resume. It's not a long-term solution, and it's a little challenging with the age, the late nights we work, and they can't necessarily work alone. So it is a great idea in theory, but we're looking for more flexible hours, I guess, where they can work late, work independently on their own, and be able to work a couple nights a week and be interested in town politics, because right now that really is kind of all we record. So it can be not the most thrilling job for certain people. So I wanted to make it kind of as clear as possible what our board does, the hours they are, the kind of people that would really be the most beneficial. So if you know of anybody interested, hopefully people listening, maybe you know of someone interested or you're interested, to give us a shout out, or the Board of Selectmen a shout out through an email or a phone call, so we can try to get the ball rolling and get some more members. Any questions?
Ms. Maderas, thank you.
Thank you.
Please don't leave.
Oh.
Does Mr. Pacheco, do you have any questions?
No, I just want to thank Dave and Laura for the great work that they're doing, and hopefully in the near future they get some help.
Thank you.
Mr. Karen?
Are you saying town politics is boring?
To me, it's not, but
No.
to the broader public, maybe.
No, I have no questions, other than I hope you guys do a great job, and I think you're taking a lot for granted, and hopefully
you.
somebody steps forward soon.
Mr. Mullen,
Yes.
I think we need, as the Board of Selectmen, to sit down and talk strategies of how we can enhance involvement with this board, whether it be financial pay, or a more concerted effort with Bill Rooney and the school department. But obviously, to provide the coverage that, one, we are mandated to provide, and to keep the people in Dighton informed,
Right.
we definitely need not just to do an announcement, but to make a concerted effort to recruit people.
Right.
With that being said, there are 2 individuals who are unsung heroes, who go above and beyond certainly the pay that they receive. And this evening, not only did I want to spotlight the Cable Committee, but I also wanted to spotlight the outstanding job that Laura Maderas and Dave Marvel do for the residents of Dighton. And I want to say thank you. But I also would entertain a motion at this time that we direct Town Administrator Mullen to write a letter of thanks and appreciation to both Ms. Maderas and Mr. Marvel for their efforts on behalf of the town of Dighton.
I make that motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Karen. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Motion has been made and second. All those in favor? Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye.
Thank you.
Again, Ms. Maderas, Mr. Marvel, thank you for all your efforts.
Thank you.
But just really quickly, like, I just want to acknowledge, based on that, about, I believe 2 weeks ago, we had the Medal of Honor event, and like, it was, the event was held mid-morning, and like, I missed Mr. Marvel, he took time off from his employment really to be there, you know, and to make, you know, to make sure the filming and the taping and the coverage, you know, of the event and the, you know, and the magnitude of the event was really, was really documented and filmed. You know, like, and I think that you know, and I think that really goes to, you know, actually prove and show how committed they are. So I just wanted to recognize that too.
Can I piggyback on that? I want to make a special note to Angela Point, who was on our board for 5 or so years. You guys had read his letter of resignation. He's actually a dispatcher for Dighton Police now. He took time to volunteer and edit that completely. We didn't really have enough time where we all had free time to him to teach us how to train on the editing program. So he came in on his own time to edit that completely. So thanks to Andrew for coming in and doing that on his own time.
Would it be amendable to add Andrew to that motion? And would we need to vote on that, or can we just?
I don't have a problem.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with adding with adding Andrew to the list of letters.
Is that okay with Mr. Karen, Mr. Pacheco?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is Town Administrator's Report.
Yes, we've had a lot on the agenda, Mr. Chairman, so I'll try to make this brief, but I am very happy, excited, you know, leave to report that our new town accountant began work with the town this week. She began on Monday, Miss Amaral. From the minute she walked in, she was hitting the ground running. She was assessing our processes. You know, like, and really has in just really 3 days seen like a lot of what might be working with our processes, and has been really quick, you know, to to discern where we might need to improve and build on them as well. So she's hitting the ground running. It's a relief. You know, it's a relief to us. You know, as we plan forward in FY23, you know, like as we begin, like really trying to envision where we will be able to be in FY24, but not only that, continue working to close out FY22. She's really been an asset already, and I think she'll do great things with us for the town. So I'm happy to report that. I also included in your packet an update like from Congressman Jake Auchincloss's office that we received. I want to say at the end of last month, where there was an annual appropriations bill that passed. That was given initial approval by the U.S. House Appropriations Committee, and there was a significant amount of funding included for community project funding requests that are in the 4th congressional district, which is the congressional district that covers Dighton. And I'm very happy to report the initial approval like a $2.75 million in funding like for the replacement of Pleasant Street Bridge over Muddy Cove. So like the process is just really at the beginning. Like it will, like I believe, will need final approval from the full House of Representatives and then really go to the Senate. But Congressman Auchincloss like has been a huge help to Dighton, and you know, and you know, and advocating and understanding the need for the $2.75 million in reconstruction costs for the Pleasant Street Bridge over Muddy Cove. You know, and if we're able to, and if he is able to help us secure the funding from the from the federal government, it will be a significant amount of money that we won't have to go back to the taxpayers for. So like, I mean, like, yeah, like on all the funding needs we have, we're looking at these, so yeah, so yeah, whether it's the Pleasant Street Bridge or any other project, we're trying to look at the state federal funding, so we don't have to absorb the cost of that alone. And so like we're in the early phase, but very, very, very happy to report that we seem to be gaining some traction with Congressman Oshkosh. So like I just want to thank him and his office for that.
Mr. Mullen, thank you. And I would add that I believe it's next Tuesday, Congressman Oshkosh will be in Somerset. Pat Haddad will also be present for that meeting. Mr. Pacheco, Mr. Karen, you both should have received from the Congressman's office an invitation to attend it. Originally, it was going to be held in Dighton, but it has been moved to Somerset. He said that he had a conflict in his schedule. So I believe it's, if you're able to attend and you haven't responded to that invitation, there's still time and there is space available to do so. I do know I will be attending that meeting. In discussions with Mr. Ferry and with Mr. Mullen, we talked about funding sources and where those funding sources were going to be used. And it is my understanding, and Mr. Mullen, correct me if I'm wrong, that Chapter 90 funding will be earmarked primarily on street repair, paving, and there's a paving program that the schedule and Mr. Ferry in upcoming meetings will be.
Yes, the pavement management plan that the board approved to create the plan using Chapter 90 funding, I believe, the beginning of the calendar year. My consultant on that, the beta group, will be becoming. They'll actually be coming before the board at the next meeting on September 14th to provide actually a more fuller update on the Pleasant Street Bridge design and planning process. And then they'll be coming back to the board on September 28th at the September 28th meeting to give an update and to present the pavement management plan to the board and to the town.
Thank you. In regards to bridges, last year, Congressman Oshkosh came and the discussion and focus was on sewerage. And after speaking to members of the sewer commission, the needs in regards to sewer are in the tens of millions of dollars. And to expect the feds to give us tens of millions of dollars in an economic time where all of the congressman's towns in his district are requesting millions is probably unrealistic. We have many bridges in this town that need serious work. We have some bridges, at least two, that are closed. And in our discussions, I would recommend, obviously it would take consensus, that we focus our efforts of securing federal money for bridge repair. And I was curious, Mr. Pacheco and Mr. Karen, how you felt about that. It's important we develop a strategic plan when we're going to get funding, so we're not just spinning our wheels.
How much money are we talking about?
For sewer?
Yeah, no, for bridges.
Well, right now, the bridge that we have request is how much?
2.75 million.
7, I saw that.
Yep.
What's the other bridge?
We have Lewis Street and,
Brick Street, Maple
Street.
Street, and Center Street.
yes.
Yeah.
So my understanding about which bridges we tackle next is left to capital outlay and their recommendations.
So it's also, some of our bridges receive annual inspections by the Mass Department of Transportation as well. One of the things I don't want to jump ahead on the agenda, but Highway Superintendent Ferry, together with the Beta Group, they actually, through the Small Bridge Repair Program, we were, as a town, just awarded a grant to begin design work on a reconstructed Maple Street Bridge. That if we worked with the consultant to complete a successful design on that bridge, then that would put us in line for state grant funding for the reconstruction as well. We are trying to leverage and take advantage of every grant possible.
Right.
The challenge that we face is the Commonwealth Small Bridge Program doesn't actually include the layout of all of our bridges. It doesn't, for example, include the Pleasant Street Bridge. It does include the Maple Street Bridge, but I don't believe it actually includes the Center Street Bridge as well. Where I believe where Middle Street comes out to Center, and that bridge is in some serious need of work as well. So we're trying, to address these needs in a very systemic fashion. One of the things the Massachusetts House of Representatives, through the help of Representative Haddad, before they adjourned formal sessions at the end of July, they passed a transportation bond bill. And the thing with bond bills is, even though priorities that are included in bond bills, they may not ever be bonded, but really the legislature uses these bond bills to call attention to local priorities to the executive administration. And Representative Haddad was able to prioritize through that bond bill $250,000 for the redesign of a new Center Street Bridge as well. So we're looking at all avenues to address these issues, whether it's through grant, a transportation bond bill and the funding there, but with the degree, in the magnitude of the costs, for the Pleasant Street Bridge reconstruction, it quickly became evident, number one, that it would be almost impossible to, it would be almost impossible to, try to secure those funds here in the local level, based on the costs, and we don't have the ability to, actually afford it right now. But then on the state level as well, that's a very big cost to be, able to secure an earmark. But with the federal infrastructure funding, and the partnership with that Dighton's been able to build with Congressman Auchincloss, he's been nothing. He and his office have been nothing but supportive on it. So we're continuing to work that avenue forward.
Mr. Mullin, thank you. Mr. Pacheco, Mr. Karen, do you have any further questions in regards to this?
I just want to make a comment. I'd be interested in hearing from the sewer commission as to how they came up with that figure, what areas they're talking about for storage. As we know, we're not going to get business in without some more storage in town, so I'd be interested in getting those figures and see what area they're talking about.
Mr. Pacheco, it's my understanding that the sewer commission, a few years back, did a feasibility study, and there is a formal report on that?
Yeah, I'm aware of that, and that wasn't for the whole town. That was, I believe, was 138. But as we know, there's been discussion about Route 44, storage going down Route 44 from Taunton. So I'd be interested in seeing more specific figures.
Thank you. We'll reach out to sewer commission regarding that. Next on the agenda is launch of Economic Development Plan Survey.
Well, that was actually like a really helpful segue that Selectman Pacheco just provided. But I'm very excited together with DDIC Chairman Dan Higgins, together with our consultant Serped, who have been really tremendous partners with the town. The DDIC, as we know, has been working over the last few months to launch an economic development planning effort for the town. We've been meeting monthly. The committee's been meeting monthly, and we're very proud to announce that actually mid last week, the DDIC launched an economic development planning survey, which the link we actually shared through social media and our our website last week. The most direct way to access the survey is through Dighton News homepage, which is DightonPortal.com. And you'll see the link for the economic development planning survey, what it is, and what we're hoping, and really what we're hoping to do, and really, and essentially build an economic development plan for our community that really reflects the wants, the needs and desires and the pulse of our community. We have a very proud agricultural based environment and agricultural economy here, in Dighton, and we want, and we hope that our economic development plan will reflect that as we go forward. But we also, we're asked, the survey is about a 20 question survey, and we try, in the survey, in the DDIC, really tries to understand the pulse and and the thoughts and opinions of our residents on economic development, where we have the ability to grow development, where we have in the members of our community have the have the priority to to really at the same time prioritize the need for open space as well, and try to balance those two areas. So the survey will be open for the foreseeable future. At this point, the DDIC is actually trying to plan a public input session, which right at the moment we're looking at the end of October for that as well. So we really want this whole process to be a multifaceted process that is informed by Dighton residents. And the survey is the first. The survey is the first really realm of that we're launching now. So we encourage everyone to go to the DightonPortal.com to look into the survey, to take the survey and really share feedback on what, everyone, all residents, businesses, whoever, what we all want to see Dighton become, in terms of economic development here. Did I miss anything, Chairman Higgins? So I just wanted to provide that update to the board. Is there any questions on that?
No, residents are also encouraged to visit the DDIC website to learn about the many activities and discussions that that committee is planning for the future. And one of those activities, which we're very excited about, is the Business Expo that will be held from 5 to 7 p.m. on September 21st at the Bristol County Agricultural School. And Mr. Higgins, would you care to, or could you come up and explain the goals of the DDIC in regards to expanding business and the purpose of this expo.
Sure. Dan Higgins, 400 Lincoln Avenue, the chairman of the Dighton Development and Industrial Commission. Specific to the September event, it is geared towards business owners, business management in Dighton, or people outside of Dighton who are interested in investing in the town. So it's a networking event where people can talk with town officials who will be there about their issues, their pain points. Also network with suppliers, business-to-business customers. As I said, there will be people there from outside of Dighton, the business community who may be interested in investing in the town, investing in businesses here, open businesses here. It is a catered event, and the costs have been covered by donations from several large companies around the Taunton area, as well as the chamber itself. And if you're interested in signing up, the notification is currently on the Taunton Chamber of Commerce website, but it will be going out on the town website either later this week, the beginning of next week. Also myself and one of the members of the DDIC, John Gaga, who is a member of the Taunton Chamber of Commerce, will actually be going door to door over the next week or two, knocking on businesses, answering their questions, inviting them to come. So please feel free to discuss any issues if we show up there, but feel free to reach out to myself or I hope Mr. Mullen if you do have any questions about the event itself.
Mr. Higgins, thank you very much. Mr. Pacheco, any questions?
I don't have any questions, no.
Mr. Karen?
I think it's an outstanding idea. I was at that meeting when it was talked about, and I think it's great that Dighton's going to do something like that. You guys have worked very hard on it. Are you still mailing out a survey?
The survey is still online.
Just online?
And it will be for the foreseeable future, at least for the next couple months probably.
Right, great.
We had a very strong showing in responses the first week. It's only been out there for a week, but we encourage people who haven't participated to do that, to help inform us.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
We're also going to be inviting real estate agents and developers, discussing prospective purchases or development in the town. So they'll be looking to talk to some of the stakeholders that will be present. We're also hoping that members from some of the other committees like ZBA and Planning Board would come, because there are developers who, as we've seen with a couple individuals that have come before us making requests, have shown an interest in developing in the town, whether it be the gentleman who came before us inquiring about marijuana facility, or the person that's looking or inquiring about building a boat manufacturing plant down along the waterfront, so they could make contact with the parties they need to make contact with, know who Jimmy Aguiar is, or who is the head of ZBA, or who Robert Woods is. So that would be nice to see some of the other board members show or come to the meeting. Mr. Mullen, thank you. And Mr. Higgins, thank you. Next, availability of COVID testing?
Yes, I just want to quickly mention, together with our public health nurse, that we do, that the town does have, and is providing at the moment, free COVID-19 test kits, like through a Department of Public Health Excellence grant. We received last month a total of 900 at-home COVID-19 test kits, and we are currently making them available on a rolling basis. We began that last week, the beginning of last week. So we do currently have, and we're limiting now, and we're limiting the test kits now to 2 per household, but we are making them available through the Board of Health office, through both locations of the Dighton Public Library, both through the youth services in the lower level of Town Hall, and also at the modular trailer, and then also through the Council on Aging as well. So like we are making those available, we're having the first round of distribution now, and we're planning a second round of distribution, where we expect to distribute the second tranche of the kits, in late November, early December for the winter months as well. So I just wanted to share that with the public, that we do have them either through the Board of Health office here at Old Town Hall, through the library, or at the Council on Aging. And that's all I have for my report. I think that's enough.
Thank you. Next, thank you, Mr. Mullen.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, under old business, is to review, discuss, and act proposed licensing guidelines for junk dealers. Second reading, Mr. Mullen?
Yes, and before I begin, I really want to recognize the work of Miss Brady in helping to, and actually pulling out, pulling all of this together. Based on the feedback at the board's July meeting, we went back to the table, and specifically we fleshed out at the bottom of the first page of the draft the public hearing in the abutter notification process, which would follow section 11 of chapter 40A of the Massachusetts general laws. We also added in that the policy guidelines would require a written or oral recommendations from the building commissioner and the police and fire chiefs or their designees. Relating to the junk license itself, we're proposing that the fee for such license be $250 to cover the cost of the license. You will note on specifically on the top of at the bottom of page 2, and where license holders would be subject to unannounced visits by town officials to assess compliance with license guidelines and requirements, and to investigate any applicable complaints. And then we have, and then we're proposing a host of general operating requirements, which we believe really give these licensing guidelines a lot of teeth and clarity as well. I can read a few of them just for the public record. But A, the junk or salvage yard together with things kept therein shall at all times be maintained in a sanitary condition. B, no space not covered by the licensee shall be used in the licensed business. C, no water shall be allowed to stand in any place on the premises in such a manner as to afford a breeding place for mosquitoes. D, weeds and vegetation on the premises other than trees shall be kept at a height of not more than 4 inches. E, no garbage or waste liable to give off a foul odor or attract vermin shall be kept on the premises. F, no junk shall be allowed to rest upon or protrude over any public area, walkway, or curb, or become scattered or blown off the business premises. G, junk shall be stored in piles not exceeding 6 feet in height and shall be arranged so as to permit easy access to all junk for firefighting purposes. H, no combustible material of any kind not necessary or beneficial to the licensed business shall be kept on the premises, nor shall the premises be allowed to become a hazard. I, gasoline and oil shall be removed from any scrapped engines or vehicles on the premises. J, no junk or other material shall be openly burned on the premises, nor in any incinerator not meeting the requirements of federal, state, or town laws, statutes and codes, and no junk or other material shall be burned on the premises in the open. K, processing of junk or any other operations conducted within a junk or salvage yard shall only take place during the hours of operation as determined by the selectmen. And L, no junk or salvage yards shall be allowed to become a nuisance, nor shall any junk or salvage yard be operated in such a manner as to become injurious to the health, safety, or welfare of the community or of any residents close by. Like in the enforcement and penalties provision, like it does propose that junk dealers licensed under the accompanying guidelines will be required to be licensed effective January 1st, 2023, with said guidelines taking effect on the same date. It goes on to propose that the selectmen, based on the recommendation of a Board of Selectmen agent and the police and fire chiefs, may allow for an additional time for a licensed applicant and or holder to fully comply with the conditions of said license. There is in Article 8 of the Town of General, in Article 8 of our general bylaws, we do have a violations penalty process, which right now, according to the bylaw, is $50 per violation, based on the current Article 8 of the bylaw, which also includes Article 5 of the bylaw, which is a junk dealer bylaw. But we've also added in as well, relating to suspension and revocation, that 3 violations occurring within any 12-month period will result in the revocation of one's right to operate said business in the town of Dighton. Enforcement of this revocation will be at the direction of the licensing authority, meaning the board and or their designee. So again, we heard a lot of the feedback that the board provided at the July meeting. I do want to recognize the efforts of Chief Cronin, Chief McGee, and Commissioner Aguirre, and helping us pull this together. And we're happy to take any feedback or comments. As we plan for the third reading and the final adoption, hopefully, of the guidelines.
Mr. Mullin, thank you. Ms. Pacheco, do you have any questions?
I have no questions. I did take the opportunity to review this, and I'm supporting it at this time. But, Mr. Chairman, before or after we're all done discussing this, I would like to make a motion to take an agenda item out of order.
When we finish the discussion, yeah.
Okay.
Ms. Karen, do you have any questions?
Yeah, nobody's going to be grandfathered in, correct?
No, no, no one would be grandfathered in, but if the board would like to consider, really like a period of, like a period of time for a licensee to become fully compliant, the board has that ability.
Okay. That's it.
Mr. Mullin, could you mention or explain which towns that you reached out to in regards to the bylaw, or was it a great many?
Was a host. Braintree, West Bridgewater, Rochester. Those are the communities that really, that served as a lot of, the generation of ideas that, that we proposed, but we also wanted to make sure that they fit to Dighton as well. So just Oh, so just the fact that Braintree said something doesn't mean that we automatically included it? Oh, you know, like we, yeah, like we, uh, 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 we wanted to make sure it fit Dighton. So like, and that's really what we tried to do. I think that's what we tried to reflect as well.
So it was just Braintree you reached out to?
Braintree, Rochester, and West Bridgewater were really the examples we really looked to.
No, thank you. I would ask, just to streamline the process, that if Mr. Pacheco or Mr. Karen or myself, if we have any concerns or questions about specifics of a written bylaw, that we submit those either orally or
Yeah, like if you
email
want
to
to reach out
Mr.
to me, then we can talk.
Well,
and-
yes, so that when we come, I believe we're going to approve this on the 14th.
Yes, yes.
Next meeting?
The town policy requires 3 readings before approval.
Yes, we can streamline this. If there are no further questions,
Actually, we got one more.
oh, yes,
Are
Mr.
we
Karen.
limiting the amount of licenses we're gonna give out in any given year?
No, that is really at the board's discretion based on, an application, really.
Okay, thank you.
That being said, should we?
I don't know, I don't want Dighton to become a junkyard king.
So, we do have a provision, I believe it's in our table of uses, in our zoning bylaws, that our zoning bylaws don't actually allow any new junkyards. So these licensing guidelines, would only apply to any applicable junkyards that operate now. Like in the future, there wouldn't be the ability, for any future junk dealers to, to open up business here, because our zoning bylaw, I don't believe allows for that in the table of uses.
So to open it up, it would first have to be approved by the ZBA.
I believe it would take a zoning bylaw change to open up,
Oh, to go to the planning board.
Okay.
like any future.
Could you add an explanation article, if you will, to ours explaining that, so it is clear?
Yes, and we can reference the current zoning bylaw. So yes, we would, to go back to your question, Selectman Karen, we do have junk dealers that are already grandfathered because, they were in operation or
Right.
they were there before
Zoning change.
the zoning change.
Right.
So they would be subject to compliance with these guidelines. But we wouldn't have any future junk, we wouldn't have to worry about any future to open junk dealers to comply with these guidelines because they're prohibited from opening, I believe, under our zoning bylaw.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Pacheco, I will at this time entertain your motion.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that under new business, agenda item 13B, review, discuss, and act on Jenna Montero's request for the James Brigg Garden social media Facebook page be taken out of order.
Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Motion made and second. All those in favor, Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull, aye. Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. So, we all know why I'm here.
Well,
I would like to petition the Board of Selectmen to please allow for us to have a Facebook page for the James Briggs Garden. I would like to point out a couple of things first before we do, take any questions or discuss rather. I do want to make sure that everybody is aware. I know, Mr. Karen, you're relatively new to the situation. I don't know if you've watched all the Board of Selectmen meetings, I generally sit till the end and wait to come up here and talk about stuff, so nobody wants to sit through all of those if they don't have to. So I have been appointed, along with Ms. Tanya Patricio, as custodial representatives for the James Briggs Garden. And we are appointed by the Agricultural Commission of Dighton. This all came into effect way back in 2019 with a great idea. Nobody wanted to do it. The scouts wanted to get involved and help out. They're always looking for service hours, you know, with the Boy Scouts and your sons being in Boy Scouts, that they're always looking for service hour opportunities. And generally speaking, if it's not, you know, cleanup day or Memorial Day or, you know, flag replacements, you kind of run a little short on community service hours. So we thought it would be a great idea for us to step up. I am the Scoutmaster for the Girls Troop in Dighton that we founded in 2019. I am also committee chair for PAC 45 in Dighton, and I reside as an unofficial member of the committee for the Boys Troop in Dighton. So we decided, we met with AgCom, we met with the Board of Selectmen, and got approval. The garden was originally going to be named the Dighton Community Garden, but I personally, along with others, had significant reservations for that because the purpose of this garden is to help stock the food pantry with organic produce for the residents of Dighton that need to be served. As Mr. Hull stated earlier, there are a great many members that go to the Dighton Food Pantry on that one Saturday a month, and we also distribute produce to Lincoln Village. Now that prime time is opening back up, hopefully we'll be able to additionally go there, because as everybody knows who gardens, you can't put produce and harvesting things on a clock to say, okay, we're gonna harvest on the third Saturday of every month and the following Tuesday. So that has been the goal. It took a long time to get it up and running with COVID and everything. We were able to break ground in April, well, March-ish, April of this year. We started building everything in March. We got everything in the ground May 1st. Continued planting since then, and I am extremely proud to say that the Scouts and our volunteers, which we currently have 3 volunteers that work the garden, have been able to produce just over 60 pounds of produce since May that's been distributed to Lincoln Village, a lot to Lincoln Village because we can just drop off there whenever, and our local food pantry, which Mr. Pacheco can attest, as he was there one weekend when we brought probably about 35, 40 pounds of stuff that I dropped off down there, ranging from Swiss chards to about 25 pounds of potatoes, and I think it was about 18 pounds of carrots. I know this sounds logistically like how do you know you're distributing all this stuff, but AgCom requests that we weigh everything so we have an idea of what we're producing. Some summer squash and zucchini. We produced some cucumbers that we've brought down. I've brought about 18 pounds of lettuce over to Lincoln Village so far. So it's been a very lucrative year. But recently, we've had some retaliation and backlash regarding the garden, and of course, as everything on Facebook does in town, it always gets political. So I would like it to be stated clearly that the Dighton James Briggs Garden does not have any political affiliations whatsoever. We are strictly a volunteer group of scouts and volunteer members of the community that are really just looking to give back in any way that we can, and we thought this would be the best way to do so. So I have been discussing with the other 2 volunteers and some of our scout leaders, and we thought maybe the best way to do that would be if we had a Facebook page for the James Briggs Garden. We wanted to call it the James Briggs Garden because we did want to make sure that we paid tribute to the land that the garden was built on. Initially, when we were going to do the garden, it was going to be the location of the new library. Those plans have since changed. I'm not sure exactly what town wants to do there. We do have the new library that we were working on over on the other side on Main Street. So that plan has changed. But the garden is still there, and we still hope to work the garden and keep moving it forward. I personally do have a 3 to 5 year plan for this garden that most of it has already been gradually expressed to the AgCom, and they seem pretty happy with the outcome and everything that's going on. But I feel there needs to be more communication out to the public I would like the Facebook page to be highly monitored because I do not want it turning into a We the People Facebook page. And we just want to get the information out there. I'm not really one, like I've told you guys before, I would rather do all the work and sit in the background and just know that there's something coming of it. But I feel at this point, you know, we should probably get the information out there as to what is coming from this project and how much it's helping. When we bring stuff to the food pantry, people are genuinely happy that they can come there and actually get fresh produce. Under the Sun helps the Lions with the food pantries as well, but we have it on more of a consistent schedule by being able to produce it right there and, you know, just for the sheer convenience of it. And that's nice. My daughter is dropped off at the food pantry or brought to Lincoln Village, which is where one of my aunt relatives resides, and they're happy. Like, they're ecstatic when you go there and you're filling the fridge with stuff, and that's enough reward. Like, I don't feel that I need to, like, generally explain what I do for this project, but I do want the positive outcome to be out there so that people are seeing what's coming of it and how it is helping people. I feel like the post that you've all witnessed this weekend was a great big disappointment, and it was extremely discouraging that what we're trying to do with this project and how we're trying to help people was completely overlooked, that people were ranting that there were locks on the gates. Yes, there are locks on the gates. If anybody who has wanted to sign up, we have put sign up. I have a signup.com where people could pick time slots that they would want to come, water, fertilize, weed. We hadn't really quite worked out the mowing yet because, you know, you're using a mower, so we have to work out the logistics of that. But we've posted, we've shared these things. We've done it on our personal pages. We've done it on our scouting pages. And I feel like I was discouraged and honestly disgusted with the residents, because nobody in any way, shape, or form has that garden to have any kind of negative impact whatsoever. It is strictly people looking to help other people, and we're volunteering our time. I do apologize to everyone again, as I did on the Facebook post. The garden had not been cut in 3.5 weeks. I apologize. I mowed it today. It looks very nice. It's beautiful. It's all detailed as best as we could get it. But I want a Facebook page for it that would be significantly monitored so that we can completely avoid any kind of negative banter towards the project whatsoever, because that's not what the project is there for. And we want the community to see what the fruits of the labor for these kids and volunteers are doing for the community. So with the board's approval, I would like to ask that we could please have a James Briggs Garden Facebook page. That would probably take effect in the next few months, but at least get rolling.
It's too bad that politics has come in, or negativity. I mean, you guys do such a great thing, and don't get discouraged. It's not everybody.
No, it's the same
just a
people
few.
repeatedly over and over again. And I honestly love gardening. Anybody that knows me knows my kids, my scouts, and my gardening are my passions. So it's not something that I would stop doing.
Right.
But I mean, it's disheartening to be like, you know,
Yeah.
we're trying to do a good thing here and trying to help people, and
It's just a few.
yep.
And they're not worth getting upset over. But thank you, and I have no issues with it.
Mr. Pacheco?
And first of all, I want to thank you, Jenna and Tanya, and the scouts, and all the other volunteers that have done this project. You have a life on your own, never mind what you're volunteering for the town. I saw the same stuff that you saw, and I was discouraged and upset about seeing what I saw. You know, we have computer warriors that just go on the computer and complain about everything. They weren't stepping up, they weren't volunteering to come over there. As you know, you've already had some very successful making the beds, planting the plants when you had a lot of volunteers to go over there. People need to realize it's been very hot, it's been very dry this summer. It makes it difficult to maintain a garden. I have my own garden. I've been gardening for 45 years. And it's a lot of work, and when it's hot, it's more difficult to maintain. I think you're doing a great job. We've had discussions about future plans for the garden. This has been your first year doing it, and I think it's already been very successful. Having been involved with the food bank, I see what you bring to the food bank, and it's very well appreciated. So don't get discouraged. We're looking for volunteers to work. We're not looking for volunteers to go over there for photo ops so the public can see that they're out there. We want people to work. It doesn't mean 20 hours a week. You've already come up for a plan for next year, which we don't have to get into now, but I think you've come up with a great idea as to how to handle it next year, and I look forward to you continuing to do this job, and I know Tanya's not here, but thank Tanya also for the great work that she's been doing regarding this. This is a volunteer group of people who are doing this for residents in this town, and it's very much appreciated. So please, please don't get discouraged. I am going to support you on your Facebook page, and I look forward to seeing what you post.
Thank you, Mr. Pacheco. Jenna, I've got a bit to say on this. First of all, I want to thank you and Tanya for all that you do. I saw those Facebook postings. They were unfair, and they don't represent the entire community. But what I want to do this evening is not only address your needs for a Facebook page, but also to insulate the members that are volunteering their times so that you never again have to be exposed to the personal attack for the wonderful things that you're doing. And with that being said, my understanding is that the Agricultural Commission is the group that oversees what you do. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And it is also my understanding, and anyone here wants to correct me if I'm wrong, that the Agricultural Commission is appointed by the Board of Selectmen.
Yes.
And with that being said, I would hope that two things happen. That the Agricultural Commission be the spokesperson, the point of contact with your volunteers. So if someone has a problem, they can take it up with the Agricultural Commission, or they can take it up with the Board of Selectmen. I might add, one of the members of the Agricultural Commission is Mr. Pacheco. It is totally unfair that volunteers in this community come under personal attack. They're trying to do good, and these personal attacks discourage people from wanting to get involved, and that is unfair. We talk about Dighton as a community that it might be small, but it has a big heart. I didn't see that on Facebook this weekend. And as a board, I know I can't speak for my colleagues on this, but I have no problem addressing those issues. But it will be a unified front, unified from the volunteers, the Agricultural Commission, and the Board of Selectmen. And I know in this regard, I can speak on behalf of Mr. Pacheco, Mr. Karen, myself, and Mr. Mullen. We totally support what you and Tanya and your other volunteers are trying to do. And if we can do anything to help you, please ask. If you need us to publicize it, we will. The only question I have about the Facebook page has to do with policy.
Mm-hmm.
And hear me out. The policy, does it grant subcommittees a page, or does it grant it to boards and commissions?
So, yeah, like, I believe any entity that is organized under the town has the ability to request the creation of a Facebook page.
So in wording this motion, we could do it on as the James Briggs Garden
Yeah, so
rather
yes,
than
yes,
the
because
Agricultural Commission?
yes. So yes, because the James Briggs Garden and the are the custodians, is that So what the name is, what is the name, the
Scouts
caretakers?
BSA, Troop 45 BNG are the custodians of the garden, with Tanya as the designee.
Yes.
Because you need physical person, you can't just have
So,
scouts custodians.
we're trying to get the wording correct
Yep.
for the motion. So it would be the custodians of the James Briggs Garden?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Mr. Pacheco, you are the representative of the Agricultural Commission. Do you have anything that you would like to add to this in regards to, before we entertain a motion?
No, I support it 100%. I think we need to narrow down who the administrators are going to be on this Facebook page. I think obviously it should be Jenna and Tanya, and maybe a member of the Agricultural Commission.
Mr. Pacheco. Just kidding, just kidding.
I would support that.
So, and one of the things that the board has done with the establishment of other board and committee Facebook pages, as well, is to have those town affiliated entities that have a Facebook page to list me as an administrator as well.
Or his designee.
So we have the ability to monitor the Facebook page in accordance with town policy as well. With the Facebook page being a town sanctioned page, we don't have the ability to remove comments because everything is public record. However, if any comments are in violation of the town's social media, the town's social media policy, then we can take action as well. So and all that is enshrined in the policy. So I'm not worried about that here. But with me as administrator, I can help you make sure that page is appropriately managed in accordance with the town policy as well.
Yeah, my main concern is for having any Facebook page is, so our PAC has one, and there's a few of us that are admins, to make sure that nobody's trying to post anything inappropriate, no random persons coming in here. I would like to make sure that we're not getting any of the slack that I've seen on Facebook this weekend. I want none of that. This page is to show what the kids are doing, show how they're working, see the progress, see the phases that this garden is going through. Next year, there will be phases, or the year after, you'll have memories. Everybody's got Facebook. Facebook memories will pop up. Oh, look how the garden looked then. Well, look how it looks now. Look at how much progress we've made. Look how many people we served this year. Look how many people we're serving now. It's strictly for, I guess, positivity and getting information out there. I don't want this, I want to be able to admin this, or whoever admin this, so that we're not having nasty,
Back and forth.
yeah,
Yes.
yep.
Mr. Pacheco, would
Yes.
you care to, since you are on the Agricultural Commission, could you draft a motion as to how you would like us to vote on this?
Sure, I will make a motion that, that we allow a James Briggs Garden Facebook page, and that the administrators be, Tanya, Jenna, Mike Mullen, and a member of the Agricultural Commission, to monitor, the page.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and second. All those in favor? Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Jenna, going forward, if you need the help of the Board of Selectmen, don't be afraid to ask either through Mr. Pacheco or coming before us, or speaking to Town Administrator Mullen. Never again do we want you personally to have to face what you faced this weekend. That was totally unfair, and I apologize.
And you know what? I appreciate that, but you guys see me all the time. I'm always up here for this garden, visiting you guys and asking for stuff or giving you our donation requests or whatever. But I do greatly appreciate it. I do have one last note that I would like to leave you guys with. And Mr. Mullen, if you could take care of this for me on town sites or whatever emails. September 4th is a Sunday. I know it's right before Labor Day, but I have a really tight schedule, and we wanted to make sure that we had some volunteers there. We're gonna have an open volunteer day or an open Q&A day. If anybody wants to stop by the garden between 9 and 12, there will be some volunteers there. If anybody wants to come help out, anybody has any questions, anybody wants to get misinformation straightened out so that they're getting the appropriate information and have any questions about it. I mean, we, in everyone's defense, unless we're at a meeting like this or I'm at the AgCom meeting, we really don't boast this project really at all. We just kind of do it. So we've had put up sign-ups on Facebook for volunteering. Other than that, we really don't get anything out there. So we're really looking on September 4th to have anybody in the community that wants to come out, check out the garden, see what it's about, see what we're doing, see what our future plans are. You want to help clean up because we're coming towards the end of the season, they're more than welcome to do that as well. And I hope to see you guys all there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you guys.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Two.
I will entertain a motion to return to the regular order of business.
I make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and seconded by Mr. Pacheco. All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Karen is an aye. Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Chairman Hull, also aye. Selectmen's report. Mr. Karen, Solid Waste Committee update.
Yes, we met this past week, and it's come to our attention that we are spending a fortune and taking in nothing. One of the things that the board approved to give to the Board of Health was mattresses and the fee that is involved. As of right now, the fee jumped from, what, $13.50?
15 to 90.
To $90. So we voted to make the fee $90 until such time as when it's appropriate to find, or it is appropriate to find a collection company that can take them for less of a fee. But it shouldn't become a tax issue for everybody when only a few mattresses are being disposed of by residents. That it's basically a user fee. There is a number of mandates that are coming down in the near future that we were addressing.
Regarding any increase in fees, must it be approved by the Board of Selectmen or can the Board of Health?
It was only a recommendation made to the Board of Health.
Okay.
Yes.
But will it eventually come to us, or
So-
can the Board of Health do it on their own?
So, that is a question that came up in the meeting as well. Historically, since the split between both boards, the Board of Health has assumed the responsibility of dealing with their department-related fees. And a few years back, they also had the responsibility where they increased the cost of the bags as well. And from what I understand, the Board of Health had always traditionally been adverse to any type of fee increases. But here there was really a market need because we, as the town, didn't and don't, have the ability to absorb through our operational budget those market increases without adjusting our fee structure accordingly. One of the more long-term things I think, and I would envision the Solid Waste Committee to really look at, is a clearer process, for the fee adoption in our fee adoptions. Maybe there might be a reason where the fees need to be set by the Board of Health. Maybe there's a process that needs, where a fee increase or the setting of fees need to come, those things need to come before this board. I think that's one of the many things that the committee is really going to be grappling with and looking at. But last week in the here and now, with regards to how we have done it, at least in the last few years, those fees they've been set and increased by the Board of Health. And we, as a committee, thought and understood our obligation to act in the here and now, because every day that goes by and the town is accepting accepting mattresses for $15 and then paying $90 to get rid of, we're really blowing a hole in our budget. So the fee recommendation that was made, was recommended to the Board of Health. In my view, with the understanding that as we go forward, how the fees are set in the future, I think are going to become, a significant topic of discussion.
Things that were discussed were things like recycling oil and paint to keep them out of the landfill. Just different things like that.
It's very important that the voters, residents of Dighton, understand that there are a great many mandates that are coming down from the state. Those mandates are taxing our labor pool tremendously and will tax us financially. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the state is not giving us any money to cover those mandates.
Not yet.
So as a result, raising of fees is very necessary. It is unfortunate. I think if people have concerns in regards to those mandates, they should address them with Senator Pacheco or Representative Haddad. So there is no policy regarding the establishment of fees, only precedent in regards to the Board of Health?
That is what I understand at the moment. I could be wrong, but again, that is something. We knew we needed to make a recommendation and act in the hearing now, but we're going to be looking at all that as we go forward.
And the possibility of a policy being established
Yes.
regarding fees. Because every time there is an increase, they look at the elected officials. So ultimately, the Board of Selectmen becomes involved whether or not we like it or not.
Right. It's a substantial increase, but like Mr. Mullin said, officially the other day, our price went up to $90.
No, I understand that, but I'm looking at it more from the political side of it.
Yeah.
So I'd be curious, now these discussions will involve solid waste and the Board of Health, and Mr. Karen is our representative in those discussions about whether a policy should be established or not.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I be part of this discussion, please?
Certainly.
Yeah, my feeling is that although the state is charging $90, there may be a mistake for us to expect the residents to pay $90. As I see it, we make it too high, we're gonna find, they already drop it off on different streets, old mattresses and box springs. I'm afraid it's gonna happen more, which means that the town will pay the full $90 to dispose of those mattresses. So I think we need further discussion on this. Hopefully the Board of Health takes a look at this and comes up with a reasonable fee. But I think it may not be fair to ask the residents to pay the $90.
That was mentioned, that would we see more of people dropping them on the side of the road? And there's got to be some kind of a balance. We're not quite sure what that balance is, but given the fact that our price on whatever particular day was jumping to $90, they felt something had to be done. Because if we keep it the way it was, the everyday taxpayer was going to pay to dispose of these mattresses that only a select few were returning. But yes, I think the Board of Health is going to have more of a discussion on it. As a matter of fact, I think one of the members even voted against the $90 increase.
I think the process will include discussions as our representative of Mr. Karen. And that if any recommendations for a policy come from the Board of Health, that they will come to a meeting. And just like the junkyard policy, there'll be 3 readings and a discussion and a final vote. The only thing, Mr. Karen, as the representative of the Board of Selectmen, that what I would ask is before any fees of significant amount are voted by the Board of Health, that you advocate that the Board of Selectmen be involved in those discussions.
Well, it was going to be voted on by the Board of
Because we've set the
Health.
precedent in the past where the Board of Health has done it without consultation with the Board of Selectmen.
Correct.
So I don't know, I have concerns about that precedent,
Yeah.
as Mr. Pacheco does too. So any help you can.
Absolutely.
Mr. Mullen, you're on solid waste as well, is that correct?
I am, yes, sir.
So I'm sure you'll be advocating for our position as well, Board of Selectmen's position.
I always do, Mr. Chair.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman? May I just comment on what you just said based on experience having dealt with this when I was on the Board of Health? I'll make it quick, but there is an issue that I have raised for years, and when I hear as a...
Could you come up to the podium? Yes, thank you.
Nancy Goulat, 631 Great Terrace. Having served on the Board of Health and having attended a number of solid waste meetings, because they hold regional ones, and it's, I've gone with Mr. Ferry. Prior to COVID, we would meet at the Rentham Public Library, and we had people from all over this part of the state, Braintree everywhere, where, we'd go out in all directions. I have repeatedly asked, even when I was a board member, that we look into requiring solid waste haulers to get permits or licenses from the town of Dighton. Most of the communities in the state require that. If you're going to come in town and, you get your dumpster out there, and they're usually in the front yard or near the street, the other communities require them to have a license or a permit, just like we do for somebody that comes in to remove septic waste. That way, the town controls who's coming into town, controls basically, if you will, the solid waste. Now, as a resident of the town of Dighton, and like you as residents, we pay taxes to support the contract, we want our door-to-door pickup and our recycling. We buy the bags so that helps contribute to offset costs. If I choose to stick a dumpster in my front yard because they're out near the street, they don't like to come in your backyard, those big trucks, I'm going to pay a fee to the company who puts the dumpster there. I can put anything in it I want. They will come in and remove it, okay? But other communities, one of the things that has been really discussed and forcefully so at these solid waste meetings is, if you're not doing it already, you should be, because you're asking the residents, us, all of us, to pay the taxes and buy the bags, and yet, this particular segment, anyone can have a dumpster. So I just mentioned that.
Thank you. We established solid waste to help and streamline the mandates and the processes. My suggestion is to go before solid waste and advocate for for what you just mentioned tonight, and they will take their recommendation to the Board of Health, and they will bring it to us for a vote. I think it's important that we try to work through those channels
I agree.
so that we don't make solid waste or even the Board of Health feel like the Board of Selectmen is micromanaging.
And the reason I asked to speak about this is because my own frustration as being a selectman and a member of the Board of Health and making these statements repeatedly. As a matter, I brought it up at another meeting we had. And it was a Board of Health meeting probably 3 or 4 months ago. And one member, who has since left the board, said, "We're not doing that here in town? Everyone does that." And I said, I keep bringing up, the reason I asked to mention this tonight is because I will certainly send an email or something to Mr. Mullen about this. But it's the frustration I've experienced that everyone thinks it's a good idea. Years have gone by and the action hasn't taken. And yet, we've had to, even when I was on the board, we've had to raise rates for the bags and all that. And we see every year that the contract goes up because of the cost. So, all I'm saying is I would certainly do that, but I'm stating it publicly again because I hope somebody is going to do something.
Well, Mr. Karen, thank you, Ms. Goulart.
We ask, as you said, we don't want to overtax the people or overfee them, but this is a major source that the state has recommended. It seems like most communities do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Karen.
Remind you that we do have a 10 o'clock deadline.
Yes, I know. Mr. Karen, could you speak to Chairman Lawrence?
Yeah.
And ask that Mrs. Goulart be placed on the agenda
Sure,
as an agenda item and discussion item?
absolutely.
And you can work out the particulars with Mrs. Goulart about time and
Okay.
Mr. Lawrence. Thank you.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but are you aware that this is something that communities do?
Yes.
Well, that's what Solid Waste and Board of Health will discuss. Dighton Water District update. At their last meeting, they discussed the Main Street project. And we have heard several start dates mentioned. As of today, the start date for the Main Street project is to be determined. They are not sure when. When I had heard it rumored that there was question about a start date, I reached out to a couple individuals who are major developers in developing very large industrial complexes. And what I was told was pretty consistent with the Water Commission is saying. The supply chain is a mess throughout this country right now. And as a result, Water District is having trouble getting supplies, in particular pipes in general, and what they are saying over at the Water District is understandable.
It is.
The purchase of the well on Brook Street from the town of Somerset is moving forward, and they are still waiting for the fall town vote by the town of Somerset. The Water District mentioned that the ban on water will continue until at least September 30th. The Cedar Street #1 well is working. They are in the process of redeveloping and moving the well. A new well has been drilled, but there's still significant work that must be accomplished in the completion of that actual new well on Cedar Street. And then lastly, on the water district, MIU, or the meter instrument unit replacement is continuing. They are booked through September, but they are asking the water district residents that have not been serviced about a meter to call to make an appointment, so they can get on the list, so the men can come out to replace the wells. Regarding the school department, Superintendent Rooney announced that DR just received a $100,000 grant from the Baker-Polito administration for a major upgrade of the school's automotive program. This will allow the district to expand and improve upon both their day and evening automotive programs. The school district just added enhanced computer surveillance in the form of e-hall pass to monitor student movement through the building at the high school during the school day. So a parent calls in, they will know, or at least administration will be able to tell them where in the building their child is. Renovations to the high school parking lot and stadium lighting are currently underway and will be paid for by E&D funds. As many of you are aware, the town of Rehoboth voted overwhelmingly to remain a part of the regional school district on Friday, August 26th at 6 p.m. The Board of Selectmen and the school committees of both towns will be having a social with Mr. Rooney. The goal to build a culture of excellence for both our students and the taxpayers of both communities. And lastly, Sylvester the robot is a huge addition to the school district. This robot that they just purchased lines and decorates athletic fields in half the time humans can, and does it perfectly. This allows work crews more time to do other maintenance work at the schools. With that, I end my report as we have discussed the Dighton Industrial Development Commission earlier in the evening. Thank you.
Robot?
Yes, oh, it's incredible. It is absolutely incredible. With that, new business. Review, discuss, and act, open warrant for special town meeting. Mr.
Yeah, based on the calendar that was proposed at last month's meeting, that calendar proposed that the board open the special town, take a vote to open the special town meeting warrant this evening, with it being open to the close of business on September 14th. So I would recommend that the board vote to open the special town meeting warrant. I'm effective today, and have it be open to the close of business September 14th.
I will entertain a motion.
I make that motion.
Motion has been made. Mr. Pacheco, do I have
I'll
a
second that motion.
motion has been made and seconded by Mr. Pacheco. All those in favor? Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Next on the agenda, review and discuss and act building permitting, streamlined communication process.
Yes, we, like in our building and land use departments have been very busy over the last few years, as we know. One of the things that, as we continue to build upon, where we've been, we really want to make sure we're streamlining the communications, between departments and town officials, related to, special and permitted construction projects, including issues like alleged complaints, violations, progress reports, etc. So what we're proposing, that the board, what the building commissioner and I are proposing, that that the board consider, approving, to be sent out, as a directive to all departments, is, is a directive, that says, quote, "All town of Dighton departments, boards, and committees, shall jointly notify the building commissioner and the town administrator via written or electronic communication of any alleged complaints, alleged violations, media inquiries, and/or milestone progress reports for projects permitted in any capacity by the town of Dighton's building department." This will ensure that all of us in the board and the building commissioner are in the loop with any alleged issues or violations relating to a project that has an active building permit, essentially. So it's just an opportunity that we have identified to make sure that the communication protocols for those are in line and streamlined.
Mr. Pacheco, any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Mr. Karen?
No, sir.
Mr. Mullen, there was a pretty lengthy recommendation.
Yes, so
Could you,
what I would propose is that the board approve and provide permission to the building commission and myself to distribute the communication as proposed regarding special and permitted construction projects.
thank you. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion was
Yeah.
made by Mr. Karen. Do I have a second?
Specifically, what is that motion?
Oh, I didn't write it down as I was saying. So, yeah, do you want to read it, Ms. Brady?
Motion to approve and provide permission to the building commissioner and town administrator to distribute the proposed communication regarding building,
Permitting.
communication for progress reports. Media.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made in second. All those in favor? Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Next on the agenda, review, discuss, and act updates on grants awarded to the town of Dighton.
Sorry, Mr.
First
Chairman.
one, Mass DOT Small Bridge Repair Program of Maple Street Bridge.
Yes, I actually highlighted the the redesign of the Maple Street Bridge grant that was awarded thanks to the work of Superintendent Ferry and the Beta Group through the Small Bridge Repair Program. We don't actually have a grant agreement yet. I believe that is going to be informed by the scope of work that is in the process of being written and drafted now. But that is very good news, and as I mentioned, that hopefully will lead to the ability for construction funding to fund the project after the planning and design on the bridge is done. We will, at the September 14th meeting, also have an update from Chief Cronin on the body-worn camera grant and the implementation of them as well. But the PD is actively working to implement that, and I believe Chief Cronin will be coming forward to the board with the proposed body-worn camera policy as well. So I just wanted to give that update. And then really, actually very, very exciting news, and I really want, again, to recognize the work and the diligence and efforts of Ms. Brady and Building Commissioner Aguirre. At the end of July, we heard from the Department of Energy Resources from the Commonwealth that we've been awarded another $68,513 Green Communities Grant. $46,000 of that, almost $47,000, would fund like a heat pump and fuel conversion project like at the at the Carnegie Library building to help us as we begin thinking about charting a new town future and a municipal future like for the Carnegie Library building. And this would would tremendously update the heat pump like in and convert the building from the oil heat system it has now. Based on the 2018 energy plan that we did together with the school district as well for our school buildings. The grant also includes more than $10,000 for mechanical insulation improvement at the elementary and middle schools. We did a few years ago, we received like a fire department inspection vehicle through a grant. One of the things that this grant would do as well is it would provide a dedicated charging station directly at Station 1. So we'd be able to charge the fire department inspectional vehicle at Station 1 as well. And then the grant included $6,200 for administrative assistance. So this brings the total in Green Communities Awards, grant awards that we've received by the town to more than $200,000 at this point, which is really shows our success here. And I recommend to the board that the town accept the grant in the amount of $68,513. I can allow the town administrator to execute all the grant agreements with the Commonwealth to accept it.
I'm not quite sure what you're asking us to vote on. Is this more informational or?
We have to, the bridge grant, we don't have a grant agreement proposed by the state yet, but with the DOE Green Communities grant, we do have grant contract documents that need to be executed. So like I'm asking that in order to accept the $68,513 grant, that you allow me as a town administrator to accept those and execute those agreements on the board's behalf.
With that being said, I will entertain a motion to authorize Town Administrator Mullen to sign it's the application, correct?
The contract documents.
The contract documents for the Green Communities Grant Program.
I know we're pressed for time, but an EV charging station for $5,000?
Yes. That would provide the charging ability for the fire department's inspectional vehicle, which is actually is a small red car that we've had for about 3 years now. That the fire department uses rather than driving a rather than having our fire department inspection personnel drive a fire truck around, they use a small, very small energy efficient car that we received to the town funded by a grant, and
Right.
that's what they use.
How are they charging it now?
I believe they have to go elsewhere. They don't.
Bring it over here.
So yeah, they bring it up here in order
They can't
to charge
continue
it.
to do that, and that $5,000 be spent someplace else? There really is a convenience issue that is being faced by the fire department right now in order to be able to charge it and have it operational when they need it operational. They can't come a half a mile to get it? I don't want to get hung up on it. Like I said, it's late,
Yeah.
but it just seems to be $5,000 for when we have 2 charging stations here that
Yep.
don't get used that often, if at all.
So yeah, the grant grant projects are really This and the other projects here, like, were identified based on a 2018, like a 2018 plan developed by the town then in the Commonwealth, so we are working off that plan, so we,
I just wanna say it's actually more than that, but the rest of the cost will be picked up by an EVIT grant. So it's essentially going to be grant funded entirely.
Mr. Pacheco, do you have any comment?
No, other than I believe that because this grant is specific as to what that EV charger station needs to go, I think we should approve, allow Mr. Town Administrator Mike Mullen to sign off on this contract and grant.
No, thank you. I would like to add, and it's very important to understand this piece. Massachusetts legislature, signed by Governor Charles Baker, has come on board with the goal of 2030 that we be green. And what that means is that the purchase of electric vehicles, as you see here, $46,733 for a heat pump, that's electric. That is not fossil fuel. The legislature and the governor's office have set the goal, and some communities have already embraced this. No more fossil fuel vehicles, no more fossil fuel heating, oil or gas in their communities. These are mandates that are coming down from the state. In regards to the EV station, we may not be using it to any great degree right now, but by 2030, its use will increase tremendously, because most of the vehicles that this town owns will be EV, not fossil fuel. So, again, our complaints, concerns should be addressed with Senator Pacheco and Representative Pat Haddad, but to some degree, our hands are tied. And if we're not proactive, we will be cut out of grant fundings down the road. So,
Okay.
with that being said, I will
Make a motion to approve the 68,513.
do I have a second on the motion?
Yes.
Motion made and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Karen's an aye. Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Next on the agenda is review and discuss and act a request to appoint Irene Alley to the Historical Commission. Are there any?
Mr. Chairman,
I'm sorry?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that that the Board of Selectmen appoint Irene Alley to the Historical Commission.
Do I have a second on the motion? Motion made and second. All those in favor? Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Review and discuss and act on the request to appoint Barbara Catavia as an agent of the Board of Health, to the Board of Health.
I'll make a motion
I'm sorry.
that we appoint Barbara Catavia, Nicole Mello, and Charlene Bonafide as agents to the Board of Health.
Second.
Motion has been made and second. All those in favor? Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Aye. Review, discuss, and act to reappoint James Aguirre, Barbara Catavia, Thomas Ferry, Nancy Goulart, and Todd Pilling to the Stormwater Committee.
I make that motion.
Motion.
I'll second that motion.
Motion has been made and second. All those in favor? Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Review and discuss and act on the formation of the Library Building Committee.
yes.
Mr. Mullin?
Yes, I can. Thank you, Chairman. I did include a memo in the packet as well, but with the acquisition of the 207 Main Street property now complete, we're proposing that the board establish a library building committee. And with the board's establishment of the proposed committee, I would like, with the board's approval, to reach out to the following proposed members to see if they would be interested in serving on the committee. If interested, the committee members would be officially proposed for approval at the board's next meeting. So the building committee would be comprised, is proposed to be comprised of library trustees Chairman Ron O'Connor, library director Jocelyn Tavares, a library employee representative to be determined by the library director, Selectman Ken Pacheco, Town Administrator Michael Mullen, Building Commissioner James Aguirre, ADA Coordinator Jonathan Gale, Historical Commission Chairwoman Patricia Gales, and Dighton resident Mark Tavares, who is actually the dad of Mason Tavares, the library volunteer who we honored, the board honored last month, Mr. Chairman.
Are there any questions? I will entertain a motion to instruct Town Administrator Mullen to reach out to the members listed in the letter to us for their interest in serving on the Library Building Committee.
Take that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion made and second to instruct Mr. Mullen to reach out to the listed members for their involvement in the Library Building Committee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Review, discuss, and act on the formation of the Library Building Committee. I'm sorry, facilities request 245 yard sale.
Yes, we do have a request from Troop 45 to have a yard sale on November 12th with a rain date of November 13th, using the Highway Department parking lot. Troop 45 has all the applicable department sign-offs, and I do recommend approval, Mr. Chairman.
Are there any questions?
No.
I will entertain a motion to approve the Troop 45 yard sale.
I make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and second. All those in favor? Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Review and discuss and act on the SERSG DPW Supplies Award. Mr. Mullen, it's a pretty extensive list.
Yep.
Is it necessary to approve each item individually, or do we?
I would recommend approve and award the contract for the DPW supplies to the recommended winning vendors as presented.
I will entertain a motion to.
That motion. Sorry.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor, Mr. Pacheco?
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Chairman Hull is an aye. Review and discuss and act a one-day liquor license request by the Bartending Service of New England, LLC, 29 Vine Street, Middleborough, Mass., for an event to be held on 9/10/22 at the Bristol County Agricultural High School.
I make
Are
that
there
motion.
any questions? I will entertain a motion for approval.
I make that motion.
Mr.
I'll
Karen,
second that motion.
motion has been made and seconded by Mr. Pacheco. All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Karen?
Aye.
Mr. Pacheco is an aye. Chairman Hull is an aye. Thank you.
You got 5 minutes, sir.
Okay,
It shuts down.
okay. And then what is our legal obligations at that point?
So, what I would recommend, I think, there may be, I do believe if we wanted to hold on the, acknowledgements,
Okay.
and even hold on the correspondence. I mean, if you wanted to take one of those items, like I would recommend just the proposed recognition for Highway Superintendent Tom Ferry and Nancy Goulat for their work and efforts, like with regards to the Center Street repaving project. I did include a proposed letter that would be sent from the board to Ms. Goulat and Superintendent Ferry to recognize their work. So that might be an easy one, and I would recommend tabling everything else to the next meeting, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. With that being said, earlier, I believe it was the last meeting, Mr. Ferry graciously thanked myself and John Mitchell, Chairman of the Board of Trustees and a member of Bristol County Commissioners, for their work in completing the Center Street project. But I also would like to acknowledge the work that Mrs. Goulat, as a volunteer, and Mr. Ferry, as the Highway Department head, for their work in completing this project. And I would ask if the board would so allow for Mr. Mullen to write a letter of thanks and sincere appreciation for their efforts in completing the work on the Center Street road. On August 12, 2022, Bristol Agricultural High School was able to have our Center Street repaired as requested. With that being said, there were several individuals who helped make that happen. As Mr. Ferry mentions, we are proud to have Bristol Aggie be a part of our community, and we can now enjoy driving down Center Street, admiring the new school campus. And I want to thank Mr. Ferry and Mrs. Goulat for helping to make that happen. Thank you.
And a shout out for the former superintendent, Adele Sands, because she was instrumental working with us very early on.
We'll need to take that in a form of motion. Mr.
I make that motion.
Mr. Pacheco, Mr. Karen has motioned a letter of sincere thanks and appreciation be sent to Ms. Adele Sands, Mr. Thomas Ferry, and Mrs. Nancy Goulat for their work on the helping to complete the Center Street road repair project.